Hi, I'm Spaceboy.
And I'm Sirlana.
And you're listening to Spaceboy Universe
on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.
This is Patrick Stat Spore, and you're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
32 minutes, 21 seconds. 5-second tone followed by a 1-second pause.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe.
Okay, gang, let's go.
From the space city called Houston, Texas, welcome to Spaceboy Universe, featuring Spaceboy and the lovely Sirlana. So strap in and prepare for launch sequence.
Greetings and salutations. Yes, we're back, people from outer space. I am Spaceboy, and across from me is the lovely Sirlana, and this is Spaceboy Universe Live. Yes, we're live tonight. It is February 23rd, 2019, and we're on show number 23.20. And our guest tonight is Lee Austin, author of the book MorningStarsTale. Also, we're going to dive into the flat Earth theories that are out there. As always, follow us on Twitter. That's at the SB Universe. Follow Sirlana at Sirlana. Follow me. That's Spaceboy at Spaceboy Music. Make sure to tweet your hashtags tonight with hashtag SB Universe and hashtag Space Cadets. In addition to Twitter, you can find us all over social media. Just search for Spaceboy Universe. Hey kids, you'll want to check out the YouTube channel. That's right, we do more than the archive of shows there. There is video content from SB Music, video interviews, 2-Bit Gamers, and so much more. So hit that subscribe button and click that bell to be notified when content is available. Can't catch a show live? No problemo. Take the SBU on the go with you via Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartMedia, and Spotify because, man, we like the broadcast. And on that magical note, let me bring in the lovely Sirlana. Hello,
Sirlana. Well, you have your standard opening speech. Now I kind of have mine, too.
Oh, you do?
Remind you out there listening, when we're live like this, of course, when we're broadcasting through Spreaker, you can come to us on Spreaker and hop in the live chat there. And Spaceboy and I, of course, are monitoring that chat, and we are there. But if you'd like a little more interaction and freedom to express yourself.
And Bev to show her mad skills.
Yes, and you want to be impressed by Bev, one of our OG Space Cadets. Come on over to spaceboyuniverse.com. On the menu, click SBU chat, and there you can post animated GIFs and links and everything. All we ask is that you keep it PG-13, something you wouldn't be embarrassed for a young one to see. No harassing, no bullying. You will be kicked and or banned if you keep up that behavior. But otherwise, everything's pretty cool over there. So please chat with us live in our Spreaker chat, or you can do it over on our website in our chat room there. So just a reminder of that. And as always, if you do go to spaceboyuniverse.com, you can also click on our shop on the menu, and you can get just the coolest, if I don't say so myself, merchandise with graphics I've created or altered on shirts and hats and tote bags and sweatshirts.
Space swag.
So hop on over there to Spaceboy Universe. There's an embedded Spreaker player, so you can get to the live chat through Spreaker if you wish to do that, and you can listen to the broadcast in the SBU chat because the Spreaker broadcast is embedded right above that, so there's no reason to miss either one. And if I go quiet during either chat rooms, it's because I'm busy talking to the guests, so I'm not ignoring anybody. I just get caught up.
There you go, Space Cadets. It's not that she doesn't love you. She does in her own way. And, I'm just so happy to see everybody out there. Let me just go down a roll call real quick. Bev's in the chat room. Bob's there. Miss Michelle is there. K28 is there.
They had replicated themselves earlier.
Yeah. Oh, they did?
Yeah, it looked like there was 2 of everybody.
And I want to apologize. I spaced out before the broadcast. I was working on promotions there. As you saw in the chat room, there is a new show coming down the pipe on Yahoo. Yeah, I was spaced out. And a new show coming called Space Vlogs. And where I will dive into more of the things like Star Trek and the Orville and STD. And for those who don't know what that STD is, it's a virus. Star Trek Discovery. I'll dabble a little bit about that. Maybe even give it a Who. So yeah, we'll expand the nerdy culture part of the show in my quarters on the USS Adventure, which is the name of the ship, and you'll get to see me ramble on about different topics that
I don't want to talk about.
Makes it's not like this is the kind of that show will be kind of like Talking Dead, but I'm kind of beyond Talking Dead.
I still kind of want to have some 10-minute conversations with you outside of the universe and outside of that.
Well, that will be more entertainment kind of thing, and just kind of branching out a little bit and working on my video skills and stuff like that.
Bev's going to town, man.
So just for those who didn't know, Space lost his day job, but that's why we weren't on last week, just so we could have a moment of silence
to mourn your employment.
Now, the big question is, how you doing, Space? Are you doing all right? I'm doing fine. I got to be honest with you. It was quite a relief to leave that job because it was really making me unhappy. And, and I could some of you out there were approaching me and say, hey, are you all right, Space? And the truth is I'm not the kind of person that just kind of tells people what's going on, but at the same time I am. And I appreciate all those who were concerned, but things will change here, and more upbeat Space Boy as you've loved in the past, and I guess we'll kind of go from there, right, Solana?
Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Mm-hmm. So it's all good, and I got paid all the way to the end of this month, and I still have PTO time coming, and so I'm working a job that I'm testing it out to see if it's something I will enjoy doing, and in the future I might discuss it and enlighten y'all on what I'm doing, and but at the bottom line is it'll free me up to do other cool stuff. I really like this picture that K28's posted of him and Linda Moulton Howe, and she's got this sweater on. It looks like she's a next generation.
Yeah, and she's actually laughing. That's what's funny. I didn't know she could. Anyway.
Well, I think when we hung out with Kay, he was laughing at us.
Well, yeah, you kind of can't help that,
Mm-hmm.
Or,
All right, so where do we go from here, Solana?
Well, I don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to making fun of you about spacing out right before the show was supposed to start. Because I was like, we take one Saturday night off, and it's like we forget how to broadcast. And I'm like, oh, crap. I'm supposed to have stuff to talk about right now, and I didn't have anything. So forgive me if I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't. I just went and found some quick links. So let's learn about this crap together. Microsoft is teaming up with America's second largest grocery chain to fend off Amazon. So I'm like, who is America's second largest grocery chain? Well, I had to read to find out. Software giant Microsoft is teaming up with Albertsons.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny because, Albertsons got pretty much ran out of town in San Antonio and here in Houston.
Same with in my hometown of Shreveport. Mm-hmm. It just, of course, that area where the one that we shopped at is sort of died off anyway, but so I don't know if it was Albertsons or that area. But anyway.
Well, I don't know if they even tested here in Houston because HEB is like
rules.
The rules.
And then after that it would be Kroger's and Randall's, so after that.
well, Kroger's and Randall's tying in with that.
Yeah. So they're going to implement a frictionless shopping experience for customers. You know what that means? So this is because Amazon is starting to dominate the grocery business because they acquired Whole Foods.
And they're implementing that fast checkout thing.
And they're trying to open thousands of Amazon Go stores across the country. I've yet to see that yet. But, of course, Microsoft has nearly limitless resources to do anything at once. It'll bring Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365 to Albertsons stores. Now, Azure is like a cloud-based thing, isn't it? Something.
Well, I'm curious to know why they're doing the Office 365, how that implements.
There's like, what, a crap ton of apps in 365 because we just got it at work.
No, but I mean, how does that... I guess I would want it from the technical angle, want to know more about that.
Which Albertsons Company's Executive Vice President, CIO, Anju Tahanda, says will allow it to transform the customer experience in our stores and digitally using cognitive technologies, artificial intelligence, and data science applied at scale. Whatever that means, I don't know. But the goal is to eliminate the friction customers experience at the grocery store. Now, goodness knows I experience friction, which is why I do all curbside now.
Well, everybody wants a little friction to spice up their shopping experience.
Not all. Some of us have so much anxiety we can't stand it.
The thing is,
Me.
I guess this is the beginning of Skynet. They're,
Come through the grocery stores?
Coming through the grocery stores.
It's going to make it easier to find items, reduce wait times, helping store employees track their inventory, anticipate when they might need additional stock. Now, I'm on board for that.
Well,
getting additional stock before you need.
The trend has been up to this point more recently is to keep zero stock and supply as needed. And if you can do that... If you've got...
some goods won't hold...
follow me on this, is the lower the inventory you have, the more profit you can make because you're not buying inventory that you don't need or waiting for people to buy it. And then, as far as in a food-based situation, you look at spoilages and things like that, and if you can get something that can wrap their head around something like that, I guess like AI, then,
Well, Albertsons has already rolled out a one-touch app for its gas stations. I didn't know there was such a thing as Albertsons gas stations because I have not laid eyes on Albertsons in years.
I'm getting concerned here. Frictionless, one-touch app. I mean, where are they going with this, huh?
It allows drivers to pull up to a gas pump and fuel up by paying with a mobile device. Well, that's really nothing new. That's just new to them.
It's kind of like Apple Pay.
Yeah, it's going to be used in 27 stores, more later this year. It's going to use data science to improve supply chain and logistics. It's made inroads already with grocery and retail. Microsoft has. It's teamed up with Walmart for a 5-year deal to bring Microsoft Azure and Microsoft 365 to that retail giant. It formed a partnership with Kroger. It's really feeling the threat of Amazon, isn't it? It's going to build high-tech grocery stores in Ohio and Washington and use digital signs and apps to allow customers to find items quickly. How quickly do you need to find something? I mean, I'm shopping online at home.
I'll give you one word and it'll sum it all up for you. Ready? Anxiety.
I don't get anxiety about finding stuff when I'm in the comfort of my own home.
No, what I'm saying is if you were there and you want to get in and get out, it can tell you exactly where everything's at to get in and then get out.
Guess so.
There you go.
Okay. Now, in the endless, I am so sick of YouTube struggle, for all that this show will appear on YouTube. YouTube pulls ads from anti-vax conspiracy videos. Now, I am not on board with anti-vaccination, but I'm all about free speech and being free of censorship.
Was that what Pewds was kind of joking around about with his latest video?
Yes, we'll talk about that too.
Okay.
Anti-vaccination channels are dangerous and harmful. Well, that could be true, but why is it up to YouTube to make these decisions if you are gullible or, and that's a choice you make, then this is evolution's way of weeding out the weak people. So just Darwinianism. So YouTube removed ads from videos that promote anti-vaccination content, citing a ban on dangerous and harmful material. It's very strange how they, again, I kind of agree with them, but I still think that it's kind of part of a censorship, because if their #1 most subscribed channel gets no acknowledgement from YouTube, I have to wonder if they're doing things on purpose outside of an algorithm. You know, they're picking and choosing. It's humans doing it. So YouTube confirmed the decision after the publication contacted 7 companies who were unaware that their advertisements were running on anti-vaccination videos. Now, I guess if you're a company and you have an ad and it runs on a video where you don't agree with the content, yeah, you're well within your right to get it pulled. I just didn't want it to be YouTube making that decision. I think actually these things run automatically, and maybe they don't know where these ads land on what channels. So BuzzFeed reports that demonetized accounts include anti-vaccination channels as well as alternative medicine channel iHealth Tube, which I've never heard of. 3 channels have roughly 473,000 subscribers. So they contacted a vitamin seller, VitaCoast, and said it already pulled ads from over a separate controversy involving child predators communicating on YouTube. So last month, YouTube said it would limit the reach of videos featuring conspiracy theories in general. Responding to concerns, its recommendation algorithm pushed users down to extreme ideological paths. Listen to this because it's relevant for tonight. A recent study of flat earth believers, for instance, found that nearly all its 30 subjects had been recommended flat earth content after watching videos about other types of conspiracies. So YouTube has some difficulty distinguishing harmful conspiratorial information from programs intended for entertainment. So this is where if it's just an algorithm doing it, I don't know what I can really say, or if they make this algorithm skewed toward certain content and favor others and ignore others, but some content is harmful. Maybe anti-vaccination content is harmful, but saying that the earth is flat, I don't see how that is harmful. That's an idea. It's a theory. It's not a conspiracy theory. We're not conspiring to do something in regards to flat earth. It's just a belief. So why is that a conspiracy? A conspiracy, if you look up the word, is to conspire to do something. Whereas these are just theories. They're just ideas. And I don't know why an idea has to get pushed down because it's labeled harmful. So this algorithm doesn't know the difference between harmful and just an idea. That's what's bothering me. So, but maybe we can talk about that later with our guest. But it also says, YouTube says it's not restricting ads based on creators' comment sections. Because I don't know if they have an algorithm that reads the comments people leave on a video. So YouTube says it's not asking creators to moderate comments or face ad restrictions. Some people were worried that their channels, their sites members of their channels were causing them to get demonetized. Inappropriate comments could result in videos having limited or no advertising, because I don't know how you could sit down as a channel owner, content creator, and moderate all that unless you just turn off comments altogether. You'd have to hire someone to do that for you, you know. But so they're not basing limits on creators' comment sections. Moderators are evaluating videos that seem likely to attract predatory comments, restricting advertising as a short-term fix. So these restrictions are a larger effort to address inappropriate videos and comments involving minors. Now that I understand. I think they were generally worried about just, you know how the internet works with comments, just random idiots saying random things, but they were more worried about specific types of videos attracting specific types of people with certain comments. So commentator Philip DeFranco said there are a lot of YouTubers of all types right now freaking out over tweets. Tweets suggested a policy that could have put YouTubers' ad revenue at risk if they didn't constantly monitor their videos, and that would have opened a door for harassers to get videos demonetized by leaving bad comments. Some users believe the policy covered all comments that violated community standards before the YouTube said it only applied to videos with minors in them. So that sort of to clarify things. So YouTube is starting to get to be like Facebook to me, like they had a good day and then they had a bad month, and then they had a good day and then they had a whole bad month. So I don't know. I just have this ambivalence about YouTube. And then one of the last things we'll talk about, since we're talking about YouTube, you and I do watch and follow PewDiePie. Despite any of the controversies he's had in the past, he's learned his lessons, I think. But he's always teased that he does this thing called meme review, where he actually reviews memes, and he's gotten to the point where they think PewDiePie is so powerful he can kill a meme if he doesn't like it, which I think is funny. But he's had this long-running gag of where his subscribers say, we want Elon Musk to host meme review on PewDiePie's channel. And he kind of just teased us with it. He thought that was funny. He went along with the joke. Lo and behold, the other day, he posts a video. It's a meme review, and he does his usual review, and all of a sudden he stops like, but you don't want to hear from me anymore, do you? And it flips over to Elon Musk and Justin Roiland. And Justin Roiland is the creator and voice of Rick and Morty, of the show Rick and Morty. And it was jaw-dropping and actually made it to #1 on trending on YouTube, which tells me it is the algorithm, not the people behind YouTube running, what goes to the top. So his Musk's appearance on Meme Review gave Tesla CEO a chance to address one of its most important customer bases directly, which is YouTube. We co-hosted with Roiland the last third of the episode. It's the episode called Will Smith Hosts Meme Review, which he doesn't. They spent the time reviewing memes, including Musk poking fun at his obsession with artificial intelligence, drawing on his love for electric vehicles. He didn't plug any of his stuff. He seemed approachable. He seemed like he and Roiland were having a good time. Musk's appearance comes as analysts have expressed concern about Model 3's demand, which I guess this is the latest Tesla model. And they're actually going to ramp up production. So they're thinking this might have been strategically good for Musk and for Tesla company. YouTube creators love Teslas. They are a market that Musk can tap into. People who view Model 3s as a status symbol. Lots of platform top creators, people with more than 10 million subscribers, own Model 3 themselves. Appearing on PewDiePie's show, Musk keeps up his cred as sort of an influencer himself. And it's something that Roiland asks Musk about in the video, too. Is Musk used to seeing himself in so many memes, or does it still catch him off guard? He says he's seen this for a couple of years, and it's just been meme city. So Musk has seen a lot of memes of himself, and I think he's just like, whatever, he's fine with it now. But that was really, it was really funny and enjoyable to me to see that, because we've been watching this little saga for most of the year, into last year. This has been going on. Wanted to host Meme Review. Mm-hmm. They didn't start believing this would happen until February 1st. Started that Musk would appear. He told one fan on Twitter it would happen within the next few days, following a tweet that he purchased. He purchased stankmemes.com. Musk purchased stankmemes.com URL. So that's like, oh, he must have something to do with meme reviews. So, and then sure enough, he shows up. That was just like a little positive, happy thing that happened this week on this, rain of garbage that's been happening. But yeah, I just thought that was enjoyable. You and I enjoyed that. So, no thoughts on that when we saw that? Were you expecting to see Elon Musk in that video we watched it?
No, not really, but it just gives me a kind of a different look of him because, here he's on Joe Rogan Token on that show, and then
Well, he's so opposite of the Facebook CEO who's just like, I'm a robot, I'm a robot.
Oh, yeah. What was it we were watching? It was pretty dang... Oh, it was that robot that's out there, the female robot?
Yes, the Sophia or something?
Yeah, Sophia.
Is it Sophia?
And Sophia was looking at him, and he was looking at her, and...
His eyes lit up like a robot.
It was like a match made in heaven there.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was funny. It was a location shot, everybody. You should have been there. So, what else you got going on there?
Just one more thing if there's time.
Go ahead.
Apple is reportedly closing 2 stores in a Texas district to avoid patent trolls. The Eastern District of Texas is notorious for patent cases, and Apple wants out. I didn't know any of this. So Apple wants to shut down 2 of its stores in the Eastern District of Texas to avoid patent troll lawsuits. So this part of Texas is known for patent cases. And as per U.S. law, patent lawsuits can be filed in places where the defendant has a regular and established place of business. By closing its 2 stores in this district, Apple reportedly hopes to shield itself from those lawsuits. Interesting. The Apple Willow Bend store in Plano and the Apple Stonebriar store in Frisco, if you know where those Plano and Frisco are, they're expected to close on April 12th of this year. And they're going to open a new store in the Galleria in Dallas, outside of the Eastern District border, to continue to have a retail presence there. Well, that seems like that would be a better location for them anyway, in the Galleria up there. It's a drastic move to shield itself from lawsuits, but considering these suits can carry price tags to over $500 million for Apple, it's easy to see why they'd be willing to do whatever they can to avoid them. I had no idea that went on up there in that part of Texas. So.
Well, hey, Solana, I didn't know if you knew this, but I guess we could tell you and the rest of the Space Cadet crew out there. Tomorrow, the 24th, at 7 p.m. Pacific time, that'll be 9 p.m. our time, we're going to be hanging out with Dave Cruz on Beyond the Strange. And
how do we access that?
That's a question off the air.
Okay.
And we'll talk to Dave.
How do the listeners access
it? But the excitement is that, I believe that he does it on Google Hangouts, and so it's on YouTube.
Oh, okay, all right.
Are you going to need some Botox for that
could you
eyebrow squinchy?
Could you mention that time?
It's going to be it's 7 p.m. Pacific time, and that would be 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time for us. So, basically, it's tomorrow, same time that you tune into this beautiful channel.
9 p.m. for us. Right?
9 p.m. for us. So, yeah, we'll be talking with Dave, and Dave loves to do pop culture things, and so we'll definitely get down with the nitty-gritty with him about that and some other things, and, just catch up, and should make for a great show. But we're glad you tuned in tonight, which is the Spaceboy Universe show, and I guess we're going to go to break here, and when we come back, hopefully we'll have our guest tonight, Lee Austin, and man, it's going to be a doozy of a show tonight. So strap in, make sure you have your beverage ready, and prepare for launch. So there you go. And I wished I'd gotten to that article maybe towards the end of the show about Amelia Earhart. Remember how we did a show on that?
Mm-hmm, yeah, remember that.
Supposedly they found the aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll explain that later more in detail. So, I know, are you hot over there?
I'm just eager to call the thing.
We'll be right back after this.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lotta.
This is author Jordan Root. You are listening to the Space Boy Universe.
This is K28, and I'm listening to Space Boy Universe.
Hi, y'all. This is Lori calling from Texas, and I love listening to Space Boy Universe.
Hey, this is Dave Cruz, host of Beyond the Strange, and you're listening to Space Boy Universe.
This is Wendy. I'm listening to Space Boy Universe.
Hey, y'all. This is Lorelai DeLille. I listen to Space Boy Universe. Don't you? Tell your mama Nim I said hi.
You are listening to Space Boy Universe. Here are your hosts, Space Boy and Sir Rodney.
We don't have a bio, do we?
No, not really. Let's see. Hey, everybody.
If you want, I can give you.
Well, if you want to introduce yourself. Hey, we're back, everybody. It's Space Boy, and we have our guest on tonight, Austin. Well, actually, I keep calling you Austin, but it's Lee, right?
That's my first name.
Right, I guess I'm thrown off by the email. But anyway, Lee, don't mind my boneheadedness. Why don't you introduce yourself to the space cadets out there?
Okay, my name is Lee Austin. I'm also a broadcaster. I used to do a talk show called Outcast Radio. I actually kind of did it in your neck of the woods. I worked for about 7 years for KLOL in Houston, in the Arrow, 93.7.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went up to Livingston, which is about 70 miles northeast of Houston, and did a show at a radio station called the Arrow, not the Arrow, the Eagle, and I did Outcast Radio there. Then I moved to Austin and did a national show for a couple years from there, and then I started talking about Flat Earth, and that was the end of the radio show.
Oh, wow.
So I wrote the book. Yeah, I wrote the book, and here we are tonight.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's definitely an interesting read. I know that Solana and I, we went through it, and we were talking about it, and so we're so glad that you could come on and put your words to audio. So, so where do we begin here, Solana?
Well, I finished reading the document that you sent us, and when I got done with it, I was like, whoa. A little bit of my background is I was raised Southern Baptist, so none of this was like super new to me, but I'd never seen it explained maybe from the perspective of Lucifer that the Earth is flat, and not only that, but you also you also go into Hollow Moon, CERN, Nephilim, how Kabbalah came to be, alchemy, importance of numbers, and just how everything is sort of reality seems like it's a big lie, like, almost like the Matrix in a way. So we believe what we want to believe because that's what we've been told, and we don't question it. But just really fascinating stuff, and I don't even know where to start, but I guess we'll just start with the flat Earth, where the devil's telling us it's not a sphere, it's flat, and that we've got the knowledge of this was what Eve was getting after, was all that knowledge. And what also threw me off is how many dimensions are there, because it mentions there's 10 heavens, but is that the same with the dimensions?
Yeah, it is. What happened was, after I was terminated from my job, the network job, for talking about Flat Earth, I came back to Florida, and I just began to think about all of it. Okay, how do you put all of it together? So what I did was I took the Bible, which I've been reading for 40 years, and I read the book of Enoch 5 times. I just read it over and over and over and became obsessed with it. Then I picked up some books on the occult, read those, studied the occult for a year, laid all the books on the table, and I thought, what I'm beginning to believe is so insane that if I were to present it, first, I'm a nobody, and secondly, no one is going to believe me. I need someone to really trip the listener and the reader up, and I thought, who better to do that than the father of lies? So I decided to have the narrator be Lucifer, because he thought that if he told the truth, no one would believe him anyway, and so he gets kind of a jolly kick out of the idea of saying, okay, I'm going to tell you the truth, but it's only because you're not going to believe it, because it's so insane. It's like a baseball pitcher that is so good, he has a 105-mile-an-hour fastball, and he walks right up to the batter and says, the next pitch is going to be a fastball, right down the middle, belt side, and it's going to be 105 miles an hour. He goes back to the mound, winds up, throws the pitch exactly where he said he was going to throw it, and the batter misses. And that's how Lucifer narrates this book. He narrates it with disdain and almost an attitude of ridicule and belittling the listener because he knows they're not smart enough to get it. And I thought this would be the perfect narrator to present a story that almost everyone is going to reject upon the initial read.
I like that take on it. That way it also kind of gets you a get out of jail, because it's not coming from your voice directly. It's coming through, the filter of the devil. But I don't know. I kind of feel like if I want to talk about this document, flat Earth, I'm like, I have to take the opposing devil's advocate. Well, how do you take the opposite of the devil's advocate?
Wait a second. You're going to take the devil's advocate role for a book written by the devil. This
I was
is
trying to go what's the opposite of that?
I can't wait for this one.
No, I was trying to what is the opposite of that? Is it, but it was really, I thought it was a great way to present this. Like you said, that way if you want to get angry about it, you take it out on the devil. What a great way to entity to take it out on. But what I was reading is, you said there are 10 heavens and God is reigning from the 10th one. And there's a water firmament, I have trouble with that word, divides our mortal first heaven from the eternal second heaven. So is Earth supposedly a heaven, or is it just a place that separates these?
Well, actually, it is a heaven.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first heaven.
Right.
I've been a Christian since I was 21, and I'm going to be 62 in April. And a lot of these beliefs that I've developed have only come over the last 2 or 3 years. So by writing it in the persona of Lucifer, this is not the gospel. This is just what I think is going on. But heaven, the first heaven is Earth, and and I do believe it is. This is the third dimension of the first heaven. Above the firmament dome is the second heaven of the fourth dimension, and then the third heaven is the fifth dimension, and that's where the actual heaven is. But after the three heavens, there's an additional 7 heavens, according to the book of Enoch, and God, the Ancient of Days, actually has his throne on the 10th heaven. And what's very fascinating to me is that those that aren't believers, the astrophysicists, believe in string theory, and so do I, actually superstring theory, that there are 10 different dimensions or 10 heavens. So, yeah, we live in a multiverse. Everything that science is coming up with seems to be confirming what's in the book in many ways.
Mm-hmm. I'd have gotten, within the last year or so, into the idea about multi-dimensions. Not knowing if it was like everything being played out in every possibility at once, or these were like absolutely different dimensions with different beings and things going on, or, what was the nature of these dimensions? Is it incomprehensible to a human? But I'm getting more and more convinced of this, and what I appreciated about this document I read of yours is it, even if it was in Lucifer's voice, it's like he tries to explain how absolutely everything works. He went through everything, the glue of life, what's the moon, what's the sun, are we the center of the universe, how our DNA is formed and the differences and what the mark of the beast is. So I thought it was the way you wrote this was very, very good.
Well, thank you. And it took over a year to write it. The book is only 80 pages long, but every time that I reread it, and I've read my own book probably 5 or 6 times, I almost get a headache after reading 2 chapters because there's so much meat, even reading it. And getting back to that question you had about the 10 dimensions, my understanding from all of this studying is that Adam and Eve, when they were in the Garden of Eden, they had a triple helix DNA.
Yes.
And that allowed them to transverse all 10 heavens. So in the beginning, if you believe, when Adam and Eve were in the garden prior to the fall, they had the ability to telepathically communicate with the Ancient of Days, and they were able to transport themselves through all 10 dimensions. And what happened was, after the fall, they went from a triple helix DNA to a double helix DNA. So they went from 3, which is 1, which is whole, to 2/3, which is 666. So the number 666 is not the number of the beast, it is the number of man. In the Garden of Eden, man had a triple helix DNA. Then after the fall, he developed, he was given a double helix DNA, which no longer allowed him to communicate with God in the way that he could.
He was downgraded.
And then death came into the picture. Yeah, he was downgraded. And the whole idea of transhumanism and the singularity is to upgrade man back to a triple helix DNA so he doesn't experience death, doesn't experience the judgment of the Ancient of Days, and becomes an eternal being reflecting the light of Lucifer.
Yes. You're toward the end, toward the middle of your document I was reading, I was like, I was trying not to have my mind blown because it seems like everything does, but when you were talking about, and it just, the reason it was blowing my mind is because I keep telling Spaceboy every time we do a show about some topic like this, I'm telling you, I said, I sound like a wingnut. It's like telling him, like, man, it's all connected, man. It's all making sense. Now, I sound like a crazy person, but I really do believe everything is connected in some way. I mean, all events in history, even things in the Bible. But what struck me is because Spaceboy and I are sci-fi, fans, and we're very big fans of Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Star Trek Voyager, and of course the other one. But when you start talking about the black goo and how that is inside the chip that would get implanted, that would become the mark of the beast, and also allow us to transform, get the triple DNA, reflect Lucifer's light, and then once you've become that, we're a hive mind, no more individual thoughts, it's through nanotechnology, and I'm thinking Borg.
Of course, now I presented it to her about the Alien Covenant, where...
Oh, you actually see the black goo.
You actually see the black goo, and it's transformative, and, so... But yeah, it definitely...
But it seems like the people who wrote the Borg into being on track, it's like they read your document almost. They're nanotech, it's a hive mind, no individual thoughts, they're transhuman, they're part, machine, part human. They have their own little force field. So, and then the space when I have this conversation about what actually blew my mind was like Lucifer saying, if you can cheat time and live forever, you will escape Judgment Day. And of course, he's not going to be able to do that, but that's what he thinks CERN is going to do. So,
yeah, some of the book, and I don't want to get too mystical here, but this is probably as mystical as I'll get during the conversation.
It's fine.
Some of the book, when I read it now, I'm not really too sure what the source is for a couple of paragraphs in the book, especially talking about the glue of you and the supposition for CERN. The idea of CERN and going to cut the veil between the third and the fourth dimension, and this idea of Lucifer going back in time and destroying time, the fabric of time, allows him to avoid the judgment that he faced for rebelling against God and for us rebelling against God because we wanted knowledge. It seems like everything makes sense in the book to me to this day, and sometimes when I read it, I'm just like, yeah, I really, there's very little in the book that I don't believe. But I can't prove it. You know what really did it for me, Solana, more than anything else? Is the moon.
Yes.
I don't really argue. I don't argue with people about the flat Earth because we really can't tell. I mean, it's funny. I was with a friend today, and I live on the east coast of Florida, and he was talking about how there's some people that are just insane because they believe in the flat Earth. But I didn't tell him that I believe in the flat Earth and that I wrote a book about it. But he said, look out on the ocean. You can see the curvature. And I wanted to say to him, yeah, but if you go up 1,000 feet, it expands your perception, your point of view. But look at the moon. Here's the one thing that has always puzzled me until 3 years ago. What causes the moon to be half lit? There's a half moon where it's perfectly half dark and half lit. I can understand the idea that, okay, if it's a quarter moon, maybe the Earth is casting a shadow. But what's causing it? And what's causing it is revealed in the Book of Enoch, where he says the moon and the sun are the same size, and the sun pours its light into the moon over a 14-day period. It becomes fully illuminated, a full moon, and then over the following 14 days, it begins to extinguish until it's a new moon again. When I read that in the Book of Enoch, a light went off, and I thought, now the moon finally makes sense, because the moon is generating its own unique type of light like the sun does. And we've never landed on the moon for one reason. It's not because we can't get past the Van Allen belt, because it's below the Van Allen belt. The reason no one has landed on the moon is that it's not terra firma. It's a crystalline, self-illuminating surface. It's really just a disk that lights up. And who does it? Ask God. I have no idea how the moon works. All I can do is tell you what I've observed. It's not what you think it is. It is not something you land on. It's a crystalline, self-illuminating disk that creates its own unique cold light it gets from the sun. In the Book of Enoch, it says the sun pours 1/7 of its light into the moon every month over a 14-day period, and you can literally see that happening each and every day.
What did you mean when you said the luminaries can be seen shining through the moon's disk?
Okay, one of the qualities of the moon, or part of its composition, is because it's translucent. Obviously, that means you can see through partially. It's kind of like a curtain that isn't a blackout curtain. It's one of those curtains where you can see partially through. So what you're really seeing from Earth at certain times is you're actually seeing the stars, and I'll just call them stars for now, shining through the moon. And how they do that is, first of all, because the moon is translucent. On the other side of the moon, you have the firmament dome, which you can see through. It's molten glass. And then you have the luminaries. So you have the luminaries, which are the stars and the planets, in the second dimension, or the second heaven of the fourth dimension. They're shining through the firmament dome, and that light continues through the moon, and you can see it from the flat surface of the Earth.
Okay.
But the luminaries, the idea of luminaries and planets and light
that was
creating,
my next question.
Oh my gosh, that one totally blew my mind. And to this moment, I'm still blown away by that idea. But go ahead. You seem to almost understand it as well as I do.
That the planets and stars are actually angelic beings, luminaries, and stones of fire. They're actually sentient, intelligent orbs. So they're not these planets of gas or terra firma. They're actually extraterrestrial beings, interdimensional luminaries. And what caught me was that they are followers of Lucifer. That's Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, and Mercury. My only question is, then what's Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus if they're not involved in this? They're just rocks hanging out there?
Apparently not. And again, a lot of this information I got from the Book of Enoch and from the occult. I read a few books on black magic, Aleister Crowley, what they believe, Freemasonry and all of that. And apparently there's not 9 planets, there's 7 rebellious luminaries that left their preordained orbit. So maybe we should just go back in time and let's explain what we actually live on. And again, this is according to Lucifer, but I actually believe what Lucifer is telling us. Okay, so we are actually the center of the universe. There is a sea firmament dome above us, just like in the Truman Show. There's a diamond-shaped world underneath us, and it's actually the floor of the universe. Where we're at, it is a geocentric universe. We are the center of the universe, and ground zero, the first heaven. Flat Earth is the only physical plane in existence. So think about it looking back. It's more like a fishbowl with a flat Earth, and then you have Antarctica, which is 60,000 miles in diameter. And I got that number from the Book of Enoch, because he says that the Earth is divided into 12 strata, and a strata is 5,000 miles times 12. So the Antarctic seawall holds in all the oceans of the Earth, and then the flat Earth continues and eventually meets this dome How it does it, I have no idea. But we live in a dome, and there is literally an ocean above us. In the book of Enoch, it says how he was taken to the second heaven and stood in between the second and first heaven, and he said he saw an ocean, a great sea, much greater than any earthly sea. So this is the hardest thing for me to believe, but I believe it, that we actually live under a dome, but it's a sea firmament dome, and above us is an ocean. And in the beginning, in the book of Genesis, when God flooded the earth, the water not only came up from the ground, it came from above the heavens. So the gates of heaven were opened, the portals, and that sea firmament, the sea above it, was actually released down upon the earth and met the waters from below, and that is what flooded the earth and killed all the inhabitants on earth except for Noah and his family.
All right.
You know, when I say this stuff, it almost sounds like I should be playing hookah music behind us and taking hits off a joint, because, man, this is some trippy stuff.
It is.
But I like it.
Looks like we're up against the top of the hour break here, Lee. So let's take our break, and we'll come back, and we'll definitely go down the rabbit hole with you, and along with the Space Cadets. So bear with me here as I find my bumper music. Yeah, all right, here we go. All right, so we'll be right back, y'all. Okay.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
Hey, Solana!
What?
If Spaceboy Universe was cheese, would you eat it? Come on now, it's a simple question.
Maybe?
SpaceboyUniverse.com.
listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Sir Ron.
All right, we're back, everybody. Our guest tonight is Lee Austin, and man, I tell you, the Space Cadets are loving this topic tonight, Sir Lana.
Indeed. Well, I'm intrigued by this because it's one of these topics that really makes me, because I want to take it seriously. I stop and I think, and I'm putting it against my own personal background, and then ever since we started doing this show, how my mind has changed about different topics. And we were talking in the break how on this show we've looked into dark matter, we've looked into CERN, the collider, and we've looked into quantum computing and how all these things are together and tied. And in your book, Lee, you mention a lot of these things and how it all comes together. How some of your has an explanation of how these things are going to happen, like the mark of the beast will be through nanotechnology and the black goo, which is sentient and it reprograms and all this stuff. During the break, you said the people who have the most problem with what you wrote are Christians, and I think the problem is, and you sort of mentioned this as Lucifer, is what he doesn't say is cognitive dissonance. It's like we don't believe in evolution as Christians, but we also believe in a heliocentric spherical. So you're saying in this document that these are two beliefs that can't live together because the other one is the lie. You know, they're both lies, but we believe a truth and a lie.
Well, and when you think about it, it is a paradox that most Christians will believe the heliocentric theory, which again is the Earth revolving around the sun and the Earth is round. They'll believe that in a heartbeat, and they believe it because the astrophysicists have told them, but most astrophysicists are not Christians, and they do not believe in creation. They believe in the evolutionary theory. So most Christians are believing a source that doesn't even believe what they believe. So I just think the belief needs to be consistent. If you're going to believe man evolved from monkeys, okay, the heliocentric theory does make sense. But if you claim to be a Christian and you're actually swallowing this information, if your source doesn't believe in creation, why are you believing in the heliocentric theory without even doing your own investigative work? Do your homework. There's a great line in The Matrix where the Oracle says to Neo, I don't expect you to believe me. I expect you to make up your own damn mind. And that's really what this book is. I expect you to make up your own damn mind. I tried to present what I think is actually going on. Nobody actually knows everything. But I think this book is onto something, and it's a starting point. It's a conversation starter. At least there's one item or one line in the book that I think everyone can relate to and go, maybe he's got something there. I'm going to check into that. And that's all I want people to do. Find out the truth, go on your own journey, but for God's sake, don't believe what you're being told by the mainstream media.
You know, that you bring up, that's an interesting way you put it, because an author of mine that I really enjoyed who passed away this last year was Jim Mars. He had always, when he'd go on a program, he'd always say, hey, don't take my word for it. Go out there and find the truth for yourself. And, and I think that's how we approach our shows is, just hear what people have to say and, The
problem is most people don't have the intelligence or desire to want to bother do that. It's just easier and convenient to accept the norm, I guess.
Well,
the Matrix.
We're not here to accept the norm.
No, we're not, but... Yeah. And that's another thing I want to talk about is desire, because in your book here you say desire is the key to unlocking dimensional limitations, and it corresponds to the intent and condition of the heart. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, the Ancient of Days creates, and again, this is according to a strange thing. This is according to Lucifer. He was the archangel. When they talk about the Antichrist doesn't mean what you think it means. I'm not saying you don't know, but it means another Christ. And there is no opposite of God. The Lucifer, Satan, is an archangel. He's the equal to Michael. If there's any opposite, it's Michael. That would be another archangel. But in the book, it talks about how God creates out of desire. And in the beginning, he decided at some point to create visible from the invisible. And it is the intention of his heart to create. And that's what brings him joy. And that was the joy of creating Adam and Eve. But he knew before he ever created Adam and Eve, all of this was going to happen. He knew that Lucifer was going to rebel, and that man was going to rebel, and that he was going to send the one to bridge the gap. But I think we're in a day right now where God is really thinning the veil. I don't know. I wanted to ask both of you about this with the quote-unquote Mandela Effect. Mm-hmm. I've been noticing lately that the dimensions seem to be thinning out. The third and fourth dimension. I had a dream the other night, and literally this was 3 days ago. It was really a strange dream. Tony Romo, who's a commentator, used to be a quarterback for the Cowboys. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm dreaming that I'm talking to Tony Romo in a cafe, which is not an unusual dream. But it was followed by another dream where I was explaining to someone that I just had a dream about Tony Romo, and I thought I was awake. So I had a dream within a dream, and when I woke up, I thought, I've never experienced that in my life, and it felt like the movie Inception. And then I thought, this is another example of that veil getting very thin between what we can't see and what we can see. And I believe, just as the book states, that what we can't see is so much more real than this false paradigm that we're living in, this third dimension of space and time. I think in the end days, as we enter into them, this fourth dimension is going to start manifesting itself in our third dimension. And I think part of that is the Mandela Effect, where people are questioning the reality, because I think the spiritual component is now becoming a very visible part of the third dimension. I just wanted to get your take on that.
The Mandela Effect. Well, I can see the end coming just based on the things where I feel like humanity is de-evolving spiritually and mentally and definitely emotionally, because nobody can seem to have a mature thought or feeling without having an absolute mental breakdown. And if you don't acknowledge it and answer it the right way, you're the evil person, you know. So, and I'm talking about social media, where you can see, it's like that's the event horizon, where you can see the end coming, where people are just like, I'm talking about friends and family, not just random strangers. Like, I've known you all your life, and you've never been this needy, dramatic, insane until you had this platform. And it just feels like the end is near because of certain agendas, you know, social justice warriors, certain things getting pushed in your face that was never there before. Seems like people could, you know, take a criticism or a comment and then just go on about their day. But no, we've got to stop everything and, you know, verbally, you know, ruin someone's life. And then, I mean, it's just a number of things I'm seeing. And so it's where I've learned not to have an opinion in public. I don't do it at work. I don't have thoughts and feelings at work. I don't talk to other people about it. You know, social media, I don't post anything that could be the least bit disruptive, because I don't want to be destroyed like that.
Now, Lee, are you referring to like time itself where you've lived it and it's like, hey, I remembered it played out this way, and now I'm being told that person doesn't even exist? Or like, for example, and that person was actually in jail versus he's not in jail. Is that the kind of direction?
Well, I'm noticing it more on a spatial level. I know this sounds a little weird, but it almost seems as if time itself, the sky, the colors, the hues, everything seems to be changing in relation to the way the world was. And it seems that there's a quickening that's going on. There are times... Let me just take a drink here.
Go ahead.
Oh, and it was vodka. No, it's water. There are times when it seems that it's just being accelerated. There's a great scene in the movie Lucy. I'm a huge sci-fi fan.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite movie is Blade Runner. I've seen Blade Runner 15 times. I've seen 2049 about 7 times, and The Matrix. But in the movie Lucy, before the ultimate climax of the movie, she explains to the professors that Einstein basically said that if you move an object at the speed of time, it will eventually disappear and no longer be subject to death. And in many ways, I feel that there's a cracking in the time continuum that we're beginning to see. It talks about, in the Bible, about the days being evil, that time is evil. And I never understood that until, I think, recently, and even now I'm beginning to question it. But it seems like there's an acceleration of time and then a slowing down of time. But certain parts of my life are accelerating, like this book. There's a real acceleration and an understanding, and this interview typifies it, where I'm speaking with a couple of people who actually get it. And I'm seeing that happening more and more, where people are going, okay, what is going on with CERN? What about the moon's phases? What about chemtrails? Thursday night, and again, I mentioned because I live on the east coast of Florida, I watched the SpaceX 9 rocket takeoff from the coast. It always curves. And the reason it curves is if it goes straight up, it's going to hit the dome. It's as simple as that. But when you say something like that, it just sounds so insane. But I see them doing it. Every single launch from Cape Canaveral curves, and they say they're curving to get in the geosynchronous orbit of the Earth. Well, they've never left low Earth orbit. They even admit the International Space Station is only about 1,200 miles high. And I believe that that dome is about 3,500 miles high, with the moon and the sun rotating around the flat Earth. And one of the stumbling blocks for me was, okay, if that's true, what about the seasons? Well, simply, the sun moves back and forth between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. And think about this. This is another one that blows my mind away. They say, not me, the astrophysicists say that the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, and yet through some miracle, it's 400 times away from the sun. That's why the moon and the sun appear to be the same size. I got to go with the Book of Enoch, where he says the moon and the sun are the same size, and the sun pours its light into the moon. To me, that makes sense when I look in the sky. Everything that I've read in the Book of Enoch confirms what I see daily. And it almost is if, now that I believe all of this, time has taken on a different texture for me than it did when I believed in the heliocentric model.
Sorry. We're kind of all over the place. I'm looking at your document where I've got these things noted. I was really interested about how you talk about the North Pole and the South Pole. The South Pole doesn't exist, or at least not what we thought it was. And I didn't realize it was illegal to fly down there since 1958.
I didn't realize it either until I started doing the research for the book. You know, when you think about all of the disagreements the world has, they have managed to agree on one thing, and that is this treaty that was ratified in 1958. It is illegal to fly over the South Pole. And there was a story about a month ago about this guy who said he traversed the entire continent of Antarctica. Well, it turned out that that was a lie. He just walked a few miles in and then took a right. And then they say, well, Qantas Airline flies to Antarctica. And they do. But they all fly to the edge. Nobody is allowed to go over. It's called the International Maritime Organization, World Meteorological Organization. It's a lot of words, and I'm not even done. International Civil Aviation Organization. It is a treaty that was ratified in 1958 called the Nation-State Treaty. It's the only geopolitical topic the UN can agree on, and it states you are not allowed to fly over the South Pole. And the reason you're not is because there is no South Pole. There is an edge, there is an Antarctica, but it is a 200-foot high ice wall that contains all the... And after that, it continues as a plane. How far, I don't know, but eventually it meets this sea firmament dome, and we live in an enclosed system just like in the Truman Show.
So does that mean these governments that made this treaty with each other, they know and they want to keep it quiet, and they want us to keep us believing what we believe?
Yes, and then it leads to the ultimate question, okay, why do they do it? And they do it for two reasons, I believe. One is money. NASA gets billions of dollars, tax dollars every year, to continue to propagate the fiction. And it leads to employment, and, you know, everyone lives happily ever after. But the real underlying reason to all of it is God. Because if it is true, and none of us will know probably until we die, if the Earth is flat, then that begs the question, okay, who built this place? Because obviously this is intelligent design. We are the center of the universe. So there has to be a great architect. Who is the one who built this place? And they don't want man to believe that, because the heliocentric theory produces hopelessness, and that's what they want. They want you to not have any faith, to be hopeless, to think you're just on some random planet spinning around a bunch of other planets. Here's the math, and again, this is their math, not mine. The Earth is rotating, revolving at 1,000 miles per hour. We're going faster than the speed of sound. Simultaneously, we're going around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour. Simultaneously, this little universe of ours is expanding at over 400,000 miles an hour. And then all of it is expanding at millions of miles an hour. I just don't feel any movement. And wouldn't the oceans just sort of spin all the water out at some point? I mean, going 1,000 miles an hour? Really? I think it's exactly as we see it. When you see the sun rising in the morning, that's the sun rising. And when you see the sun moving during the day, that's the sun moving. And when it's setting, it's just moving away from your perspective. It's on the other side of the flat Earth. Mm-hmm. As time goes on, my belief in this continues to grow. When I was doing my radio show, I had a few flat Earth people on because I would say, okay, I'm 35%. Then a month later I'd be, okay, I'm 40%. And then one day I was 49, 51. I don't believe this. This is too insane. And then one day I said I'm 51, 49. And right now I would say I'm 95% flat Earth. I still want to see it. But I believe 100% that the sun pours its light into the moon and that they're the same size. If the sun and the moon are the same size, they're lying to us. And if they're lying to us about the sun and the moon, and the fact they never went to the moon, what else are they lying about? All of it points to a flat Earth being where we live.
Well, I was reading that part where you talked about when the rockets lift off, they always curve to prevent the crash into that water firmament dome, 35 miles above the Earth. That's the outer space.
3,500, yeah.
3,500. So right. Outer space is the beginning of the second heaven or the fourth dimension. That no astronaut has ever gone through that dome in Van Allen belt, and the ones who have died, and probably got to the fifth dimension by the process of dying. That is difficult to believe because we can't go up there, you and I, and I guess we would have to die to see it, like you say. But you also mentioned where are these satellites in relation to a flat Earth? Are they inside this dome and just sort of hovering?
I would imagine that they would be like the International Space Center that's up there, that's inside the dome, as you described a little bit earlier, right, Lee?
Yeah, I think Space Boy hit on it. There's some people that believe in the Flat Earth, and there's the Flat Earth Society. I'm not associated with anyone or anything, but I'm one of the ones that do believe in satellites, but I think everything is to scale. As I mentioned earlier, there's a difference between low Earth orbit and high Earth orbit. High Earth orbit is 22,300 in that geosynchronous range. But the International Space Station, like Space Boy mentioned, it's 1,200 miles. That's where I think the satellites move around at that altitude. But I don't believe that they're on the other side of the dome. It's impossible, because they would be submerged in an ocean. Mm-hmm. When I say that even now, it sounds insane, and I get it, but I believe it, because what they're telling me makes no sense. And what I've been able to study and research on my own, and confirmation I've had from God, is pointing to this. And boy, they say, okay, the next question is, okay, so are you saying that thousands of people are in on this conspiracy? And absolutely not. When I think man faked the moon landing, everyone was told what they needed to know, and everything was compartmentalized. Like, okay, you're the one in charge of the engines to make sure they function properly. You're the one to monitor the suits to make sure the astronauts are getting enough oxygen. Everything was compartmentalized. But there's a very small group of individuals that know exactly what's going on. And it was like Operation Paperclip, where they were literally firing rockets into the dome to see if they could crack it. So the world, those that really run this place, as George Carlin would say, they know. And when the Chinese landed their lunar module a month ago on the moon, I'm sure they probably used the same studio that we used when Stanley Kubrick did it. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole other can of worms. The whole idea that Stanley Kubrick, 2001: A Space Odyssey, was really just a dress rehearsal for the moon landing. And I believe that.
And that The Shining had clues that he faked the moon landing in it.
Apollo 11, that kid wore an Apollo 11 T-shirt.
Yeah, we did a show all about that, too. That's weird.
The fake moon landing is one of... what's really... I love watching people wake up. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. I have two kids. I have a son who's 33 and a daughter who's 30. My son doesn't believe we ever went to the moon, but he doesn't believe the Earth is flat, and neither does my daughter. But I talked to my daughter a couple of weeks ago, and she goes, yeah, I went to go see First Man, the movie. Mm-hmm. And I said, so what'd you think? And she goes, nah, we never landed on the moon. So this generation, the millennials especially, because they have access to YouTube, they're seeing all the footage of these NASA astronauts and scientists lying out of their whatever, and they know that we never went to the moon. But the flat Earth takes a while. But if you can believe they lied about the moon, then you take the next step. Okay, what else did they lie about? And it took me over a year to become a flatty. And if this is your first introduction to the idea of the Earth being flat, I do not expect you to believe that the Earth is flat. If you do, then I could probably get you enrolled into a cult, because it takes a while to unravel all of this brainwashing. When you're a kid, you walk into school, what's the first thing you see? A globe. Everywhere. And in the sci-fi series, The Magicians, which is all about tapping into the demonic, for some reason the professors are always surrounded with globes. You find out that those that don't believe in God have the most fervent belief in the balls. Interesting.
All right. Well, Lee, we're at the bottom of the hour, so hold on there while we initiate a break here. Let's see here. Interesting stuff tonight, Space Cadets. Definitely going to have to, give it some more thought after this program, and just explore a little bit more in details about Lee's book here, and we'll get you all that information at the end of his visit here. So stand by.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
The epic battle begins this Friday. Direct from ringside at Laser Death Melt. It's Bot versus Bot in Galaxy's 2-ton weight championship, where your challenger, Good Bot, will face the reigning champion, Bad Bot.
You're terminated.
Reserve seating starting at $30. 2-drink minimum, where ladies don't get in free. This is an SBU production.
You're listening to Spaceboy Universe.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Space Boy and Sir Lana.
To be rejection.
Okay,
everyone.
Lee, we're back on the air. So, this is the funny thing that we always tell our space cadets is sometimes the best program is when we're off the air and we're during breaks. But, Shalana, did you want to pick it up?
Well, let me throw this at you. So, when you got this early explorers, they sailed around the world, or if you catch a flight around the world, where are you actually going?
It depends. I can tell you that flights that originate in New Zealand and Australia, if they were to go to Tierra del Fuego or to Cape Town, South Africa, it would make more sense to fly over the South Pole, but that's illegal. If you're going to fly from Anchorage to, let's say, London, it probably would make more sense to kind of fly over the North Pole. The North Pole is in the middle of the flat Earth. So picture the North Pole in the middle, the South Pole kind of on the rim. It's almost like a frisbee.
Right.
So any flight that's originating, let's say in Alaska, that's going to go to the Soviet Union or to Eastern Europe, it makes sense to just fly over the North Pole, and they do. They take that northern track, but they can't do the same thing with flights over the South Pole because there is no South Pole to fly over. So there's this real disparity. You'll see flights originating in Auckland, New Zealand, flying to Cape Town, and they just fly a straight line over the Pacific, over the southern tip of South America, over the Atlantic, and then land in Cape Town. When it would make more sense to just fly due south over Antarctica and pop up on the other side. This whole argument over the flat Earth could be ended with one flight. I would like to just see one billionaire, Trump or whoever, just say, I'm going to get in a private jet and I'm going to fly from Tierra del Fuego and I'm going to pop up on the other side. And that will end this flat Earth argument. But it's never been done. And if it ever was done, I think that plane would probably be shot down.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is there someone stationed there to take down flights if they do try to go over it?
I have no idea. I do know there's Murado, or whatever it's called. There are space stations down there. Yeah, McMurdo. There are space stations down in Antarctica, but they're more near the edge of the ice wall. You just have to... If you look down, if you look at it from above, pretend you're God for a moment, imagine a frisbee in the middle of a desk, and that desk has a dome over it. That's kind of what I would envision it looks like. And there is no Antarctica, and it's hard to get your head around that, but it is a 60,000-mile-long circular ice wall. And after that ice wall, nobody knows what comes after that because no one's allowed to go past that point. Why?
It sounds like a snow globe scenario, kind of like the configuration of it. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. It almost would be like, I imagine it to be like a snow globe on a desk. What really fascinates me, and I don't know, I would love to know what is beyond that ice wall. Once you go a few, I would say 100 miles, does the terrain change? Does it become different? Is the climate different? I have no idea.
Well, you mentioned
but I don't believe there's an Antarctica.
The North Pole in the center. You said it was a hole there, too?
I believe that now. I didn't believe it before. And that leads into this whole idea of the hollow Earth. I'm having such a difficult time. Yeah, I'm having such a difficult time believing the Earth is flat, and I do believe it's flat, but it's still hard for me to believe it, but I do. To get into the whole hollow Earth, I don't feel like I'm qualified at all because I've done no research on it. Would it surprise me? Not at all. I also believe, if we get a little spiritual here, I also believe there's a hell, and it's 3,600 miles below the surface of the flat Earth. So you have hell 3,600 miles below the surface of the flat Earth. You have the dome 3,500 miles above the flat Earth. And then you have the sun and the moon, which are localized, rotating from east to west above the surface of the flat Earth under the dome. And that's why you don't see that ripple effect. If you look through a telescope or you've watched any video on YouTube, Mars does not look like a planet. It looks like a flickering light. And they're all flickering lights because they are. But that light flickers because the light shines through the ocean that is between the sea firmament dome and the actual lights themselves. And that's what gives it the flickering effect, is the light shining through the water. And that sounds insane, but I also believe that.
Well, you said North Pole's massive hole produces a vacuum, a vortex ring, extends out from the surface of the flat Earth into the black cube of hell. And I was like, okay, I'm getting freaked out now. And it's temporary holding cell for dark angels. And you said the northern lights emanate from the black sun located in the heart of hell. And as soon as I read that, I started hearing this 90s song, this band. It's called Black Hole Sun. And I was like, I wonder if that's where they get this idea from. So, interesting.
I was a huge fan, and I still love Chris Cornell. I was so sad when he passed. I mean, I have said this, I think he has the greatest voice in rock and roll ever.
That deep,
and, you know, probably he and Robert Plant have the best voices.
Rock and roll voices.
But there's a very interesting video. It's about David Bowie and his death.
Black Star.
And it's called, if you go to a YouTube channel, it's called Surviving Babylon. Surviving Babylon. And it's the only video this woman's ever done. But she does this whole expose on David Bowie's very last song, Black Star. And in the video, David Bowie releases the album just a couple days before he dies. In the video, it shows the black sun, this other sun. David Bowie was very much involved in the occult, a follower of Aleister Crowley.
Yes.
And Satanists believe in the planet Saturn. They believe it's the planet Satan. And in the book of Enoch, interestingly enough, he talks about the Watcher Angels. Now, the Watcher Angels are the angels that came down to Earth, 200 of them, had sex with women, and produced a race of the Nephilim. And this is why God flooded the Earth, because Satan tried to corrupt the double helix DNA. So he floods the Earth, the Nephilim die, and these Watcher Angels are facing judgment now. According to the book of Enoch, they are currently imprisoned in the second heaven of the fourth dimension. Again, we live in the first heaven of the third dimension. So where you see the stars, that's where the Watcher Angels are. Some of them are there, and according to Enoch, some of them are in the abyss, in hell. And they're all awaiting this time of 70 generations. In the book of Daniel, it talks about 70 generations. And so we are in that 70th generation, and a generation represents 70 years. 70 times 70 is 4,900. There's going to come a time when these Watcher Angels are released again, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be before the coming of the Son of Man. So everything you saw in Genesis is coming true right now. You're seeing these Nephilim appearing. People are talking about, again, this fourth and third dimension, the veil being very thin. You're talking about chimeras being produced, which are the results of angels, dark angels having sex with animals, producing chimeras. So all of this stuff is happening. There's a great movie out now called, what is it? It's the one from James Cameron, Attila.
Oh, yeah.
Battle
Alita,
Angel.
Battle Angel.
Yeah.
Thank you. Alita Battle Angel.
Sorry, we're nerds.
And in it, there's a great line where the young man has a crush on Alita, and she goes, "Does it bother you that I'm not human, fully human?" And he says to her, looking in her eyes, I think you're more human than any human. And Alita is a human brain and a shell body. She is the transhumanist superhero for the younger generation. And this dials into the singularity and Ray Kurzweil and his idea of uploading your mind into a machine, an avatar, James Cameron, and becoming an eternal being. And this ties into Elon Musk and SpaceX and his Neuralace. That's the device that uploads your mind into this machine and then into an avatar, avoiding death, the judgment of the Ancient of Days, and becoming an eternal being. And if you become eternal apart from God, then the wages of sin are not death. You are God. I am God. We reflect the light of the light bearer, but you have to take that mark of the beast, which changes your DNA from a double helix to a triple helix, not reflecting God, but reflecting the light bearer.
And if you take that, you have no more chance of redemption. And when the apocalypse starts and all the punishment and hellfire, you'll want to die, but you can't because you've become this immortal, and you're done. That's it. You're going to suffer forever and ever and ever. That's what I read.
There was a scripture. That's the scripture. I never understood that. Like I said, I became a Christian when I was 21. I'm going to be 62, and I'm writing this book when I'm like 58, 59. I didn't understand why God couldn't forgive someone, because I'm thinking, okay, I took the mark of the beast. I realized the error of my ways. Why can't I be forgiven anymore? What happened? And what happened is that your DNA systemically changed. You went from a double helix to a triple helix, not reflecting God, but reflecting Lucifer. You just became an eternally damned creature, and it says they will seek death, but they will not find it for a period of 5 months, and they will be stung by the scorpions. Why is it they can't die? They can't die because they now have eternal life. Eternal life and eternally damned simultaneously.
That doesn't sound like fun at all.
It's so heavy, man. It's so heavy.
Well, I wanted to talk about the take you have on CERN. Now, we did a show about the Large Hadron Collider, and as part of it, near the end, we talked about all the conspiracy or just theories about it, and it lines up with what you talked about. What we say they're actually trying to do is find the glue that holds everything together, the fabric of life, and learn about it to tear it apart, and that will actually open a portal to one of these other dimensions, and it might let something through. I'm thinking about the first Hellboy movie where they did that, and Hellboy came through, but that was sort of like a visual representation, as I think of. And they're using a quantum computer, and you said it was the power of 7 billion brains to access these hidden dimensions.
Well, when you think about what it is they're doing, and I'll just read from the book. CERN is a 17-mile tunnel circuit that contains 9,600 supermagnets repelling protons and ions just under the speed of light, producing 164,000 collisions per second, completing 11,245 circuits per second. Fully operational, the Large Hadron Collider is 100,000 times hotter than the sun. What I believe they're trying to do is to go back in time and take apart the fabric of time. Once they can do that, once they destroy time, then the Ancient of Days, God, cannot judge man, and he cannot judge Lucifer. Because if time never existed, then Lucifer never tried to be equal to God, was never cast down from heaven. Man never sought knowledge from Lucifer, therefore he never fell. Therefore, it is God's Achilles heel. And at that moment that time is destroyed, Lucifer believes that is his moment that he will be on even par with God and will kill him. And once he kills God, then he is truly God, and then he will bring man into the enlightenment and join him in this fifth age, which is the age of Aquarius, the Stone Age, and that's what all of this is leading to. His kingdom come, His will be done, without time on heaven and earth.
See, I'd never heard that part before. You know, I knew he was...
There's a lot of...
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been writing articles I've been submitting a lot of stuff to Before It's News because they print my stuff, but I've been having weekly updates from Lucifer talking about current events, because the book is more of an introduction. It's like how the universe works for dummies. Mm-hmm. And as time is going on, I think I'm beginning to see more things to this. But that's what CERN is about, and that's why Shiva, the statue of Shiva, is outside of CERN. Shiva is the god of destruction, and you'll notice she's encased in a circle. Mm-hmm. So Shiva destroys the fabric that holds the glue, that holds creation together, destroys this creation, and then Brahma, the second person of the Hindu Trinity, recreates this universe in the image of the light bearer, and they have destroyed the demiurge. The ultimate lie from Lucifer is that he is God, and that the demiurge, the Ancient of Days, is God, but they're equal, and they're not.
No.
But that's what he tries to convince man, that I'm an equal to, I'm the other God, I'm the benevolent God, I'm the light bearer. So most of the world, most of the Illuminati, most of the real people that run this place, they don't believe in Satan. They believe in Lucifer, the light bearer, and he will show them the light. He will give them eternal life apart from this demiurge, who is a judgmental, narrow-minded God who created this physical universe, but it is the light bearer who will lead us into the light and eternal life apart from this God. Yes. Yeah.
But see, when I read your book, this is the first time I've seen it explained in plain English in a way that I can understand. Like, oh, well, it all makes sense to me. I already knew this, but it didn't really come together, make sense. But like, okay, you actually explain it. There's something that you mention over and over, and I hear this all the time. I hear it in Freemasonry: order out of chaos, as above, so below. And it started to make sense to me. I always just like, that's just some saying. I don't really know what it means. It has no, context for me. But now I get what they're saying. After I've done all these shows about these different topics, and we've talked to some, like Robert Sloan, he's a Mason, he talks about the Book of Enoch, and I read your book, I'm like, it's starting to click now, some things. So I appreciated about the experience of reading this. Do I believe in Flat Earth? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yet.
Well, and it's the last chapter. It's chapter 10. It's called Divine Duality's Lie. And I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'd just like to read a paragraph from it.
Sure.
First of all, each chapter has a quote from someone. And this one's from Albert Pike. Yeah. And it says, and if you don't know who Albert Pike is, he's basically the godfather of Freemasonry. And he said this once. He said, yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately, so is the Ancient of Days. He's also God. Lucifer, the God of light and God of good, fights for humanity against the God of darkness and evil, who is the Ancient of Days. So that's the paradigm from which they work. And this is what Lucifer says, or Morningstar. I am the equal to and the antithesis of the Ancient of Days. This is the divine lie of duality. As above, so below, belies the notion that all of creation has an opposite. I am the yin to his yang, white to his black, truth to his lie. As the two columns of Jachin and Boaz falsely represent equilibrium in Freemasonry, I promote the balance between life and death, construction and destruction. Truth be told, balance doesn't exist. I am the God of chaos, creating the problem in order to offer the solution, order out of chaos. So, in that paragraph, Lucifer, Morningstar, is telling the truth. But he's telling you the truth because he knows you won't believe him, and that is funny to him. He gets great joy out of telling the truth, knowing you won't believe it. But that is what I believe, that this lie of duality is the fundamental lie of Freemasonry, Luciferian, and this new world order that's coming very soon, they're going to say that Lucifer is the good God, and he is the one that's going to lead us into the light, into the age of enlightenment, the fifth age, the age of Aquarius, the Stone Age.
And we as humans, we have figured out some things that seem like it was maybe should have only been divine knowledge. Maybe that's because we're part of the fallen. But, you say everything has vibrational harmonics. Tesla was correct. Oh, God, what didn't Tesla know? That we have this unlimited energy from the fourth dimension, the second heaven, and that the LHC is going to be the tool that will usher in maybe these demons and these parallel dimensions, and somehow it's going to connect to that. Is it Saturn that has the cube polar top on it, and it's going to connect up with it and give us the cosmic egg that's going to have this figure come through and start this new age of, where it's the beginning of the end?
I'm looking at the page, and it's part of the reason I kept the book to 80 pages, because it is so hard to believe so much of this. But suffice it to say that those that are Satanists, Luciferians, they believe and they worship the planet Saturn. Saturn is one of the 7 luminaries that rebelled against God. And apparently what's going on, and I learned this from studying the occult, that there is a 20,000-mile wide hexagon on the North Pole of Saturn. And it is believed that inside that black cube are more watcher angels. And if you look around this flat Earth, you see black cubes everywhere. You'll see them in New York City. You'll see them in Australia. What is the black cube, and what does it have to do with CERN? And it has to do with everything. It is a symbol of Satan. And it has to do with the pentagram. And, we can go way down the rabbit hole on this, but the Large Hadron Collider will recreate the Big Bang and conceive the cosmic egg. Remember, everything that Satan does is a mockery and a mimicry of God.
Right.
So he's creating his own resurrection. The egg symbolizes the sentient resurrected deity of Saturn, Satan, Black Star. Again, this is all about what Bowie believed in. These people worship Saturn. It is the luminary who changed its course against the dictates of God. In the occult, Jubilee celebrates the resurrected Saturn, ushering in the Prince of Darkness, the Age of Aquarius, the New Atlantis. There was, I believe, a place called Atlantis, and this is where the Nephilim were. They were all over the earth, but Atlantis was, if you will, their New York City. And those days are coming back. And panspermia, I don't know if you're familiar with the whole thing with panspermia. In the movie Prometheus, that's what Ridley Scott is promoting, this idea that these engineers, our creators, seeded this planet, flat Earth, and they're going to come back at an opportune time. And this is the fake alien invasion. This is what's going to unite the world. This is what's going to be the catalyst for the New World Order, because when they arrive, they're going to say, we created you. They're going to show us miracles upon miracles. And I believe that the Antichrist himself is actually going to be a Nephilim. He's going to be a hybrid who rises out of the abyss. It talks in the book of Daniel about how he has no affection for women. He's actually going to be half dark angel, which he is, an archangel, and half man. And once he's assassinated and that resurrection occurs, it's at that moment he says to the world, look what just happened. I was killed and I rose from the dead. Why? Because I'm eternal. I'm the light bearer. I have a triple helix DNA. I'm offering you the gift of eternal life. Accept this chip and plant it in you, and your systemic DNA will change from a double to a triple, and you'll be able to see through all 10 dimensions, and you will become an eternal being reflecting my light. How could you not turn that down? I just came back from the dead. And if you won't accept it, we'll kill you.
Yep. That's
and
basically
that's it.
That's basically Revelations. You just explained it in a way using modern technology and what we have now. 5G, black goo, chips, terms we understand.
Right. And the thing with 5G, this is something that I studied after I wrote the book, and I wrote an article about this, but the 5G confused me for a while, and I've kind of come up with this idea. Are you familiar with the Internet of Things?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything
it's the idea, right, everything is chipped. So imagine your pillow is chipped, your computer is chipped, everything has a chip, and everything talks to everything. So the moment you walk out the door knows you've opened. When you walk in your house, even now, you go to your refrigerator and it says, your eggs are expiring, I suggest you buy more eggs. Well, imagine every single physical object on the earth being chipped. Now, that has to be quadrillions of objects. The bandwidth we have is inadequate, but with the 5G and quantum computing and these D-Wave computers, and the best way to explain it is that our computers right now are binary, they're ones and zeros, but with qubit computing, it operates on an atomic level. And because it operates on an atomic level, it is able to digest, process, and develop algorithms for all of these objects going through it. And 5G provides the bandwidth through which all of these objects can be funneled into one computer, one machine, one beast machine, which dictates the hive mind. So when someone accepts this mark and their systemic DNA is changed to triple helix, they will become part of what is a hive mind. They will automatically become possessed by Satan. They will no longer be able to receive salvation, and they will all think like Satan because they will have his heart in their mind.
All right, so let's...
And yet they will have eternal life.
Let's hold it right there. We're going to take our break here, and then when we come back, we'll have some final thoughts with Lee Austin, and definitely get his contact, his deets, so that if you want to look him up on the interwebs, I'm sure he would appreciate that, and where to find his book. So don't touch that dial.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
Greetings, Space Cadets. Let's see what's in the sky tonight in the Spaceboy Universe. Tonight, in the eastern sky, we have Spaceboy Universe rising above the horizon in glorious splendor. And in the west, we can see Solanus Majoris, which is visible at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, just below the K28 belt. So keep your eyes on the sky and listen to Spaceboy Universe.
I'm Solaris Blurvid, and I'm listening to Spaceboy Universe.
are listening to Space Boy Universe. Here are your hosts, Space Boy and Sir Lana.
All right, we're back, and hope you've appreciated the little break there. And so, Lee, if people wanted to reach out to you and talk to you personally or find your book out there on the interwebs, how can they do that?
Well, the easiest way to buy the book, I think it's only like just under $5 for the ebook and about $8 or $9 for the actual book. If you just go to Amazon, type in MorningStarsTale, MorningStarsTale, and tale is spelled T-A-L-E, but there is a snake on the cover. So it's MorningStarsTale, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can also go to my website, which is morningstar'stale.com, and you can click on there, and it'll take you to the publisher's website. You can buy the book that way. Also, it has my email at morningstar'stale.com. It's ocdaustin@yahoo.com. But if you go to the website, you can see the email prominent if you want to email me any comments. But that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. Just go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble and type in Morningstar's Tale. That's it.
Cool. Anything else you...
I don't know how much time we have left, but I just say I appreciated the way you put things in context I can understand. Like, I always knew about the Great Flood and Noah and his family, the only ones who survived, but I never dug any deeper into that, was why or how. But now I understand it's because the Nephilim, the fallen angels, had gotten on Earth, the giants, and procreated, and now they've dirtied up our nice DNA, with so there's these half-breeds, half dark angel, half human, and the flood was to wipe all that out, and it just so happened that Noah didn't have any of this infected bloodline, so to speak. And I'm like, oh, that's what happened. And then I was really intrigued by the fact that vegetation and plant life were not like we know it now prior to the flood, that you said there were forests packed with giant silicon trees that were like big as skyscrapers, or kind of organic, and that the desert rock landscapes might be these giant forests. And then I was telling this to Space Boy about 2 hours before we started the show, and he had told me that Devil's Tower might be the bottom of one of those trees. That's sort of a theory out there. And I was like, yeah, this is all blowing my mind.
That it's the remnants of a petrified tree, and I thought what I saw about that was kind of interesting. And when you look above it, it definitely looks like, you see the root section, and it's hard to dismiss the Devil's Tower because it looks like the bottom of a tree. So
it's wild. The one thing that I got out of the book that really blew my mind, I always wondered where demons came from. And according to the Book of Enoch and the Book of Giants and the extra biblical text, the spirits of the Nephilim, the disembodied spirits of the Nephilim, are the fierce terrestrial spirits we know as demons. So what happened was, according to the Book of Enoch, God killed the Nephilim, who were the product of the Watcher Angels and the humans, the hybrids. He killed them, but he didn't pass judgment on their bodies. Their fierce disembodied spirits live on as demons, and subsequently, after Noah landed and began to procreate, apparently these demons came back and began to harass man to the point where Noah cried out to God, and God made a deal where 9/10 of the demons went back down to hell, and 1/10 are on the surface of the earth. So these fierce terrestrial spirits known as demons, according to the Book of Enoch, are actually the source of the Nephilim spirit. So the Nephilim spirit from 2,000-3,000 years ago, those are demons. And I always wondered where they come from, and that's another thing I believe that's pretty much out there.
Well, the one thing I do believe is, you're talking about, the false disclosures coming to aliens, that whole thing. They'll say they're aliens, but they're actually this Nephilim. That's the one thing I believe in, that when people say they've been abducted and had these encounters, I'm thinking they might be encountering these dark beings, these, dark angels. So
I agree. And it's the same thing with UFOs. I don't really believe that UFOs are aliens. I believe it's actually military. But the military got that technology from these interdimensional beings. I believe, like Area 51 and places like that, these Nephilim are back, and they have made a contract with the military, be it the United States, Russia, the entire world. Look, you worship us, you follow Lucifer, and we're going to give you all of this technology, this zero-gravity technology that allows ships to just disappear and move and defy the laws of physics. So when people see these UFOs, I believe most of the time it's military, but that military technology was given to them by these interdimensional beings. There are no aliens, but there are interdimensional beings in all 10 multiverses.
That's what I'm coming to accept. It's a way to take what I was told my whole life, and it was, it's always the King James Version, and it's always in this language you just can't understand. It's like trying to read Shakespeare, and you can't make heads or tails of it, especially the Book of Revelations. It reads like some kind of strange poetry, and it's not, like, how do you interpret that, opening the Great Seal and how do you contextualize that in a way a human can understand, where it's, documents like yours and some others, like, I guess maybe the Left Behind series, try to take what we know and put it together and like, well, this is how it's going to happen with what we have. So that's what I've appreciated about the experience of reading your book.
Yeah, I really think it needed to be explained simply and shortly. There's a lot of great books, and I think you mentioned Tex Mars earlier, and I've read some of his work, but his books are long, and he's got such a big brain that you read it, and you're like, I'm exhausted. With this book, because it's only 80 pages long, you can read it, but then you're going to put it down, and you're going to read it again, and you're going to read it again, and eventually you're going to take it to a coffee shop, meet a friend, and then he's going to tell a friend. I had an email from a guy about a month or two ago, and he said to me, I got your ebook from a friend who emailed it to me. I got to page 35 and got so intrigued, I bought the book, and then I told 4 of my friends, and they bought the book. And I really think that's how
word of mouth,
the book is going to sell, is mostly by word of mouth. And because it's a book, we were talking about the issues with the Internet and not really showing up as you should be. I think being a book, you can't destroy it. I mean, you can go Fahrenheit 451, but, unless they take it from your hand, it's tangible and it's there.
Right.
So, when everything shuts down, at least you still have a book.
Yeah, and there'll be this podcast if they don't, kill our hard drives and take it out.
Well, you just put it on a flash drive and you put it in a safe place, and that's what I do with a lot of this stuff. I just make multiple copies because I don't trust anything on the Internet as far as longevity goes. I load it, and I put it on a thumb drive, and then I go, okay, at least I got a copy of it.
That's good.
And just to let you know, Lee, that once this program ends, you can go to our site here on Spreaker, and it's downloadable pretty much after we've shut down the show. So if you need access to it,
you do the show. You do the show once a week.
We do it once a week. Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. We cover, just to let you know, we cover history, French science, gaming, music, pop culture, and technology.
Like the last time we were on, I talked about the Korean War because they never taught that to me in middle school, grade school, high school, college, for some reason. So I went on a journey to learn as much as I could about it on my own in a week. But I work at a university, so I had access to scholarly stuff, through the library. And it was just what I learned and what my takeaways were. And so we'll do a history topic like that, and then we'll come back and do, dark matter, or we'll talk about AI, or we'll talk about VR. And
I think at the end of the day for our shows, it's a learning experience. Even if we may not believe 100% of what we're talking to with the guest, we still would like to keep an open mind because, it's the old thing where better to be knowledgeable about a subject than to be ignorant and then face an uncertain doom if you don't know something about it. Mm-hmm. So that's how we kind of approach our topics, and it makes for a good entertainment.
And it's good because if I didn't learn about CERN and dark matter and how quantum computers work, see, I'm better informed for this conversation when you're mentioning it, and you're not I get. I don't just spend extra time looking it up because I've already done that. So.
And like I said, the book, more than anything else, is a conversation starter. All I'm trying to do is get the reader to get off their butt and to do their own research and to go on their own journey of truth. Yeah, and this stuff with CERN to me is fascinating. They had that, what was it called, the Goddard Tunnel they built under, I think it was Switzerland. Mm-hmm. It was the longest tunnel, and the ceremony they had to celebrate.
The ceremony!
Was
my God!
Was totally demonic.
That was so
totally
freaking
demonic.
Weird.
Yeah.
I told people about it on this broadcast. Go watch that, draw your own conclusions, but that something is deeply wrong there. So
And it ties in completely with CERN. Interestingly, CERN allegedly is right over the burial ground of Apollo, and Apollo is another name for Satan.
Yep.
And it's right there on the border of, I think, Austria and Switzerland.
The light bringer,
so nothing is by
chariot of
chance.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the buildings on CERN looks like a hive mind. It all makes sense.
Yeah.
It all makes sense.
And it makes sense to us,
really
but
does.
yet we're the crazy ones for understanding it.
I was at the beach earlier today, and I was with a friend and a couple of young teenagers walking on the beach, looking at their phone, and I thought, put down your phone. Life is in 4K. And that's the problem. With all this technology, it's made most of the people dumber. That Mike Judge movie, Idiocracy, is coming to fruition. That's a prophecy coming to pass. As more technology gets to our fingers, people just seem to be getting dumber and dumber. And there's this remnant that is just so hungry for the truth, like you, Space Boy, and myself, that we seem to be. I'm silent. I don't talk to anybody anymore, and I certainly don't talk like I've been talking to you guys for the last couple of hours. I keep quiet.
Now, we don't talk like this, like on social media or in our workplaces, because, we're not crazy and stupid, but
no.
We will talk about this in a format where people can choose not to listen,
Right, and you're telling them up front what it is we do. We talk about topics that you normally aren't going to hear on a mainstream radio show.
Right.
So, if you're not ready for that, don't listen.
Unless we're talking about Star Wars, excuse me. Our Space Boy's talking about Star Wars, and then,
That's our banter.
I would like to see you guys do a whole show on the Blade Runner series. That would be fascinating.
I would have to go back and refresh because when Blade Runner came out, I was young. I'll be 47 this year, so I have not seen it since that time.
I think it'd be great to talk about that because you got the AI angle and.
I would actually understand it now because when I was a kid, I didn't get it.
And Decker and all that.
Would I need to watch the sequel?
No, not really, because I don't know about you, but I didn't really like the sequel to Blade Runner. I thought it was really an underperformer.
The sequence with Harrison Ford in that casino just dragged on forever.
Right.
And I think that movie could have been really good if they took about 45 minutes out of it.
Yeah.
The only thing I know about
too long.
Blade Runner, the original Blade Runner, is what's it, Dolph Lundgren? What's his name? The blonde-haired guy. That
I know
monologue he gave, he made it up.
He improv'd that.
He improv'd it.
Yep.
Tears in the Rain.
He said, "I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Sea bees off the coast of Orion."
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about how all of it will be lost like tears in the rain. And what's interesting to me is that Ridley Scott is an atheist, but there was Christian imagery there because in the end, the replicant saved Decker's life.
Rutger
and
Hauer.
He had nail. Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer had a nail through his hand and saved him, and a dove descended on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's very.
And the whole thing was based on the book by the whole thing was based on a book by Philip K. Dick Do androids dream of electric sheep? But there's a Christian overtone to it, which really blew me away when I found out that Ridley Scott is an atheist. But I almost get the impression that he's like us in that he's searching for truth, and he's still open to it. I actually worked as a logistics coordinator in the adult world, and the guy next to me is an atheist. He even has a Baphomet bumper sticker on his car, which I laughed at. But he said to me a month ago, he said, you and I are a lot alike. And I go, yeah, outside of, the spiritual belief, we both are outcasts. We don't fit. And he goes, yeah, we're just weirdos. And I go, yes, we are. and I like being around the weirdos, the people with the tats and the psychics and the people in the occult. At least they're looking for the truth. The ones that scare me are the ones in suburbia with the strap sneakers that accept everything just as it is, as just dandy. Yeah, those are the scary people.
Right.
How can you accept this reality as normal? That, to me, is frightening.
It's Matrix. It has you. I'm telling you, that movie had some truths in it in the form of entertainment. And as we're talking about to Robert Sullivan IV, it's just the breakdown of that movie will just absolutely blow your mind. Because he mentioned in his book, The Cinema Symbolism, in the movie you see that book Neo holds Simulacra Simulation. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go look that up. I stopped my research and I went and looked up that book and what it was about. And I'm like, holy crap. And he literally talks about how, reality being an illusion, and the more we focus on the material, the further away we are from, knowledge and the good things in life, and how we're missing out, and that forms its own world that you get lost in, and you believe all that. And so it's like, again, it all ties together. I don't know.
Well, and it all makes sense. An interesting statistic is most witches and warlocks and those that are in the occult became that after going to church. They went to the church, they didn't see any power, and they said, I want to see power. And they have power. Astral projection is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible to leave your body and to travel to other locations, but you need the assistance of a demon to do it.
Mm.
And then you're getting into the black arts, and you're getting into black magic and demonology, necromancy and all of that. But they do tap into that power. And it's the same thing with black magic. I had read in one of the occult books I did research on that basically the black magician enters into a contract with the demon that during his life, the demon will serve the black magician, and then upon the magician's death, the magician will serve the demon. And that's why black magicians will go to great lengths to extend their life, because they know they've got a contract coming due. But black magic is real.
Mm-hmm.
And the occult, all of it is real. I mean, this stuff is not fake. And it's more real than this tangible universe that we're living in. And that's, I find the fourth dimension much more, this third dimension is boring. It's all about taxes, HOAs, and going to the store and getting more food. It's just
I think that's been constructed on purpose to keep us in our place and keep us busy and not think like we're thinking now. I don't know if you've heard of a man called Bill, let me get his last name, Schneebelen. Don't ask me to spell it. But he's somewhere on YouTube, and he started out, grew up in the Catholic Church, believed everything, everything about it, went into the seminary where you go to learn to be a priest, fully on board, got hooked up with this one professor that says, well, if you want to be Christ-like, you got to do everything Christ did. That means you got to go read all these occult books too, because he told them that Jesus did all that stuff too, which I'm like, okay, I missed that in the Bible. So this professor screwed him up, and he went the other way, deep into it. He got into Church of Satan. He got into this, that, and the other, and the Mormons, and he found out he became a witch, and he was actually, like you said, performing all that dark magic, and he married this woman, and they got like way high up in the ranks, and he talks about his journey is fascinating. He went all the way to the edge, had something happen to him, and he came back, not to Catholicism, but to believing in God and getting saved. But his journey is fascinating. and he talks about all the same things you're mentioning, because he talks about Crowley, and Aleister Crowley renamed himself Crowley to rhyme with holy, is what I heard. So, but and he was a disgusting human being. That's my personal opinion. But that's another guy I'd love to talk to, but I don't know if he's too. He might be too
the
big for
extreme
us.
people are the ones. The extreme ones are the ones I enjoy. Think about Paul the Apostle. He spent his time killing Christians, persecuting them, and then he became the greatest proponent and wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. When I was living in South Padre Island, I went to this church, and I got involved with this former witch. And by involved, I mean spiritually. She was a former witch who became an on-fire, born-again Christian. But she would tell me about her experiences, and she would teach me about the occult. She said when she was baptized, she levitated out of the pool, and people were running out of the church. And again, this gets back to what I was saying about how most people in the occult went to the church, they found no power, they found it emaciated, they just were like, okay, I want power. And there is power on the other side. There's another woman that she's a Christian, and she's been oppressed a lot by the other side, and she's been teaching me stuff. My concern when I wrote the book, honestly, was that this would stick to a degree. You know, especially when I was studying the occult, I was concerned about that. But since we're pulling back the veil, the Lord revealed to me that I'm going to show you the other side, but you'll be protected. It won't affect you. And it didn't. When I was writing the book, there were periods of time when I was just like, get this over with. I'm done. I'm so tired of studying the dark arts. And then once the book was written, I started doing the interviews. It became a lot easier. But the marketing of the book has been more of a chore than writing the book, because I haven't had to, but I've reached out to a lot of occult folk on the web, and I've gotten a lot of angry responses, but I've gotten a lot of great responses too. So I know that the book is on the mark, but it's been a really cool adventure so far.
Well, I've really appreciated reading it and being able to talk to you, and hopefully we can talk to you again. It seems like there's a lot of content here we could go over, and we could even pull apart other things and go through another journey there. So I've really enjoyed talking to you. Space Boy, same with you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And this is one of those shows where it's knowledge and...
knowledge is power?
To know makes you more prepared in life.
Knowing is half the battle.
Knowing is half the battle. Yes, thank you, dear. We appreciate you coming on.
The old scripture, my people perish for lack of knowledge. And, this is the knowledge. Space Boy, Solana, man, that was good. Great conversation. I really had a good time.
Great.
Good. We had a good time having you on the air tonight, and I'm glad you reached out to us.
Yes, indeed.
You're welcome. And if you want to get together some other time, just give me a call. I'm here.
Okay, that's great.
We got your information. We got your digits, so we know where to get you.
Have a great night, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you so
Lee.
much.
Take care.
Bye-bye. All right. That was Lee
good.
Austin, and, I was hoping that this show would turn into something very awesomeness. And
well, we didn't get into a lot of the things that in his document says the Earth is flat because of this, this, and this, because I want you to go read that on your own. We could have sat here and argued and taken the other view.
Yeah, the devil's advocate.
There was other things in there that intrigued me that I had not talked about before. Or thought of, and I wanted to focus on that. So go get his book or read it, and you'll see where he says, as in the voice of Lucifer, the Earth is flat because of this. You've been told this, but it's actually this. So, and like I said, it'll take you maybe 2 or 3 hours to read it. So.
All right. Well, Solana, let's take this final break of the evening. We'll run it down to midnight, and we'll do our normal talking back and forth.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe on the SBU network.
Explore the universe with Spaceboy and Solana.
Get your game on Spaceboy Universe. Level up with Spaceboy Universe. No quarters, no problems. Play it at Spaceboy Universe.
You are listening to Spaceboy Universe. Here are your hosts, Spaceboy and Sir Lana.
All right, so we're back, and so here's a sort of a preview of what to expect out of the new YouTube show, Space Vlogs. I couldn't say it. It's late. I'm discombobulated. Anyway, so Disney Plus streaming, they're adding a lot of new shows to their lineup. You know, you're getting some Marvel shows. They're actually doing some Star Wars shows like The Mandalorian that's coming out. And so they're also going to do, I heard, a 6-episode, a limited edition 6-episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So, you know, it'd be great to see. Hello there. It's funny every time I see that.
I know, I can't help it. Can't take it seriously.
It's hard to take it seriously, but you know, so you know, it'd be nice if Ian McGregor shows, and there's the cat. But anyway, so yeah, that's going to be something to look forward to. I still am not buying the fact that Bob Iger is saying that, you know, we were just doing too much, too soon, too quick, too fast. No,
that's the cop-out. We made a bad movie that no one liked.
Oh, speaking of movie that nobody liked, The Last Jedi, so Rian Johnson, it looks like he's not getting his trilogy.
Okay.
So there's some excitement there. Now,
but all that's the kind of content we can expect
from space vlogs that will be coming to YouTube.
So if you're into this sort of that thing, do check out Space Vlogs. I will probably not be a part of it.
Yes, she probably won't unless it's to edit video.
I've got an idea that I want to do with you, separate from Space Boys, separate from that, to just do little 10-minute topics on our YouTube channel. So I'll talk to you about that soon.
I'll look forward to having that conversation with you.
Reminding people where we're going to be tomorrow and what we're going to be doing.
Tomorrow we're going to be hooking up with Dave Cruz and on Beyond the Strange. You know, I've been looking forward to this. Actually, it's been a couple of months.
He did invite us both, or was it just you?
Yes, he invited both.
Because you said we're going to talk about this and this. I'm like, well, I've got nothing to say about half of that.
Don't worry about that. You just bring your A game and we'll talk. And you know,
I'll pull up all my notes from this year.
I mean, there was that pop star that he wanted us to look at.
I'll do that again.
And, you know, the symbolism in her videos. And basically, she's pretty much manufactured. And a lot of Illuminati symbolism.
What of them aren't? Gaga's manufactured. Beyonce's manufactured. She actually went through some kind of weird inverted baptism.
I thought Gaga was more of a Madonna rebranding.
Well, where did she come from? Where does all this stuff comes from? You know, we've done symbolism in music before. I think we did 2 shows on that.
Mm-hmm.
You could just go on and on and on, but we're not going to learn anything new, I don't believe. The only thing I learned new on that was how rap music changed in order to benefit prisons. That was a revelation for me. So, anyway.
Prisons manufacturing rap music?
Well,
yes, I know. I was there.
They just changed it to the other way. But anyway, the glorifying crime to get more prisoners to make more money.
Sorry I bring this up, but anyway. Are you looking forward to the Avengers Endgame?
Yeah, I'm all right. But if it's one of those things, you know, if I don't see it, I'm not going to die. You know.
After all the videos we've seen on YouTube.
After all the videos you've watched, that I was sitting there watching because I was just sitting there. Oh, I don't want to get started on Captain Marvel. I don't.
I just want to tell Brie Larson to shut her pie hole. Nobody cares about what she says outside the movie. She should be promoting it. Well,
that's all celebrities. Nobody cares what you have to say.
Well, you know, the one I always make fun of that really he should shut his pie hole too is Matt Damon, yes.
Yes, I agree. And his little buddy Ben.
Yes.
Not that Ben's really said much anything lately, but
you know who a real Hollywood actor is?
Keanu Reeves.
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth because he gives and.
There's a lot of them that give that don't talk about it, which is good. You know, charity's not supposed to be something you brag about anyway, but there's a lot of them that give that are still, you know. So, but I happen to like Keanu from the things I've seen, the interviews I've seen. He seems like an almost normal as you could get for that industry kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I would give him a hug if you authorized it and if you would allow it.
Sad Keanu?
Sad Keanu. Oh, I don't think he's sad. He's just, you know.
I don't know. I look at him. He seems like a real, genuine person. I mean, he doesn't own.
He hangs out alone most of the time.
Apparently, he doesn't own a mansion like a lot of these other actors do, and he doesn't flaunt his money. You know, he's just an average Joe like a lot of us that does cool movies. Speaking of cool movies,
I was about to say, speaking of cool movies,
I guess Bill and Ted is on the way.
Yep.
Yeah, so
I don't know if they're just involved in the production, if they've got a cameo, or they're handing it off. Maybe this is through their children. but I would be interested to see what the premise of it is. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure 3? Or maybe it's a new offshoot?
It's 3.
The first one is a beautiful
Bill
little
and Ted's
classic.
Excellent
Second one,
Adventure.
they
Focus
were just
Adventure.
a cash grab, but the first one,
Excellent Adventure.
Dear to my heart.
Now, the actor, I can't think of his name, but...
Alex Winter?
Alex Winter looks a lot like Rodriguez. What's that?
Really?
Rodriguez, the comedy actor. Paul Rodriguez. If you look at him...
The white version?
I guess the white version. If you look at him... Now, trust me, you're going to have to look at a picture, dear.
I'll do it later, but then I'll go, you're on crack. So, speaking of cool movies that are not actually cool, that I've not seen, something wonderful happened.
Riff Tracks?
Yes. Riff Tracks Live announced their 2019 Kickstarter, which would bring us 3 movies throughout the year. They needed $250,000 to bring these movies to get the rights and, rip them. They made it in 2 days, and there's 31 days left or 30 days left, and
so there might be a bonus movie.
There could be so much more coming. So they're already $260,000 over.
So that first movie, what is it, Octopus Man or something?
The first movie is called Octoman, which I've not heard for, but it looks like a delightfully terrible B movie, and it's coming out live. It's going to be streamed live to theaters, riffed or made fun of live by satellite on my birthday, April 18th. What a wonderful birthday gift to get. And then later on in the year, like in June, we're going to get, I forget the name of it, but it's something that came out in 2017 that you never heard of, these B movies, starring Casper Van Dien, who starred in Starship Troopers. And then, now the third movie I'm ambivalent about, because I don't like it when they go back and they re-riff classics they already did on Mystery Science Theater 3000. I'm a little bit of a purist. But they already riffed Space Mutiny, and it was a classic. They came back and did it at Riff Tracks Live, and it wasn't as good.
I enjoyed it.
But it wasn't as good. They came back and they re-riffed the little time travel with a biplane. Can't remember the name of it. It wasn't as good as the original. Now, in August, they're going to riff the Giant Spider Invasion, and that is already a beautiful classic Mystery Science Theater.
So remind me when we were watching Space Mutiny.
Space Mutiny was another one they re-riffed, and it wasn't as good. It was not as good as
I guess the main characters were about to get it on, and then all of a sudden, what did they do? They flashed something.
Oh, they got a copy of the uncensored version, and I don't know if that's the one. No, that was Starship Troopers, where a guy came out in a gorilla suit with balloons to distract the audience.
Right.
And then they did something on the screen. I can't remember Space Mutiny because I could just buy that one, but
that was really funny.
That was funny. Now, the one they did re-riff was Manos, The Hands of Fate. They did it with Joel first, I believe, and they did it with Mike, and they did it riff tracks, and each time they managed to come back, find something different and funny. So there's like 3 different versions out there to choose from, and they're equally good.
I ended up downloading the 8-bit game for that off of Steam.
Manos, The Hands of Fate. Did you also download the Tommy Wiseau The Room game?
No, I didn't know that was out
there. Because I think PewDiePie played it. The Room, the game.
No, I did not see that.
Yeah, you should get it. Yeah. It's you gotta knock things off and take baths. And,
Speaking of Tommy, he's got another movie that's out there.
Yeah.
So
I think I sort of read about that, but he's sort of like the king of bad movies. He's made a name for himself for not having a good movie. I think they should talk to the guy who made Birdemic. I think Birdemic was way worse than the Room.
That intro was killer. Now, the only redeeming part was the sing-along in the middle of the movie. And
I saw some local band somewhere. Somebody took like a cell phone video of somebody doing a really swingy jazz cover of Hanging Out with My Family.
Now,
went on for like 10 minutes.
One that I enjoyed that we went to see was Samurai Cop.
Oh, God.
I mean, that was good. And
even if you didn't see it being made fun of, that's still hilarious on its own, but they made it
his partner
funnier.
Cracked me up.
Oh, my gosh, his partner.
Breaking the fourth wall.
And he could not be, the guy could not, I know he's supposed to be sexy and attractive, but it's like, to me, he cannot be more repulsive.
Well, the bad guy in that movie is pretty repulsive looking.
Yeah.
It's like his skull is inside his, under his skin is too big, and it's about to explode. I mean, that's how you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But you cannot tell me I know you love the movie Starship Troopers, and I know why. Yeah. And I have a better understanding of what that movie is about and what it's really trying to say because I did some research on it.
Would you like to know more?
Yeah, I get it now, but you cannot deny the riff tracks live of Starship Troopers was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the only time you'll ever get to see it unless they get to rebroadcast it. But it was a one-time deal because they don't have the rights to sell the riffed, version. But you can buy the audio and then sync it up with your copy of it. But which I might do. But that was the ultimate riff tracks live experience. Was that one? And then I thought Mothra was okay. And then, of course, they did the anniversary special was really great. And they brought TV's Frank back and Trace Ballou.
Mm-hmm.
And that and the
summer shorts.
And the summer short specials, both of them. So they had a Mystery Science Theater reunion and a Riff Tracks Live 10th anniversary celebration in one live event. That was great. And I bought that one.
Admittedly, I was not a big fan of Mystery Science Theater when it was out because I had told you I'd watch a lot of these movies just as is.
It appeals to my sense of humor,
mm-hmm.
and I started watching since day one. And even though I went through the Joel, and then Joel left for creative differences with the producer, and they brought Mike in, and I was like, everybody hates change, and I was like, but it turns out I love the Mike era
mm-hmm.
much better because he's closer to my age and he appeals to things that happen in my generation, and I'm more close to the references I understand, whereas
mm-hmm.
Joel was more my sister's age and all those references she understood.
Mm-hmm.
So and when they went to sci-fi, the movies got weirder. The Sci-Fi Channel. That's why I really appreciate it. So I started listening to
Sci-Fi, where shows go to die.
Yeah. Well, I started listening to
Don't
the
get
giant
me started on
spider.
Stargate Universe.
No, I won't. I started listening to the giant spider invasion Mystery Science Theater version because it's all on YouTube. As I was falling asleep,
mm-hmm.
and
what you should listen to help you sleep is Santa Claus.
I know. Whatever, nobody cares. So I started listening to that, and they're watching the movie. And it's like this scene comes on, and it's like, Mike, this movie hates us. And this movie ramps up the repulsion. And they had this thing. This is like mid to late '90s when they showed this on TV. This one, and they kept going in. Mike and the bots kept going, "Woo! Packers win the Super Bowl!" And when they actually won the Super Bowl 20 years later, they kept playing that clip from Mystery Science Theater. And I was like, yay, I'm validated. So.
Well, I wonder when Endgame comes out in the movie theaters.
It's like April 17th or 20-something. It's in April.
Wait, you said the Riff Tracks is on April 18th? Is your
That's
birthday?
a Thursday. It's always a Thursday.
I was going to say, yeah, usually it's...
it's a 26th. Endgame is on the 26th of April. So that's like, a week or two later?
But March 8 coming up is
Hellboy,
Captain
Marvel. Captain Marvel's this
Captain Social Justice Warrior.
So does it mean you don't want to see it now?
No, I'll go see it. I mean, I think of it as something I have to go see so that I can report back for space vlogs.
Hellboy is April 12th, so that's the Friday before.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have to go see that. I can wait for you to rent it if you need to.
Hellboy?
Yeah, we need to conserve our
money.
Well,
we'll see how things go. I know I'd like to see. The thing Endgame is going to be 3 hours long.
You keep saying that, but I just have trouble believing it.
There was talk about putting an intermission in between, that movie.
You just get it and walk out when you need to.
Well, you know, surprisingly, the only other movie that I've seen that was that long was the movie Gettysburg. I know, a history.
Gettysburg?
Gettysburg, yeah.
What is Gettysburg?
Gettysburg. You know what I'm talking about. I think your English major thing is lashing out at me.
Well, you are like an old grandpa.
Well,
sometimes you do this on purpose, and
me.
sometimes I don't know if you really think that's how that's pronounced.
Gettysburg?
No, there's a lot of other things. I can't think of an example right now. Because I think you did one today, and I was like, he's got to be doing this on purpose. He's got to be. I will not acknowledge it.
I mean, like Vandy Camp?
You do that on purpose, and then there's something else you say wrong all the time. I can't think of what it is.
Ridley Scott?
No, that's actually right. That's actually correct. But
things that I say wrong.
Yeah, and if you do it on purpose, bless your heart, it's still not funny. But if you're enjoying it, then who am I to, crush your hopes and dreams? Although I'm pretty good at it.
Apparently, I've got myself to laugh at me.
Yeah, sometimes that's all you can do is laugh at yourself. Nobody else will.
Well, there's been a few times when you started laughing, and I've told you to let go. Just fall into laughing.
What? You're doing it again.
What, laughing?
You said laughing. Are you feeling okay?
I think you're hearing things.
Are you feeling okay?
Spiraling
out of control?
I'm always spiraling out of control.
Did we miss anything? Because, we weren't here last Saturday. Did we miss anything we were supposed to talk about? You think anything?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head when we've got about 10 more minutes to go.
Well, I haven't looked at this.
Hey, Solana, what are we doing next week?
Why do you ask me that when you know I don't know?
I just like putting you on the spot.
I'm also not going to talk about groceries. I'm going straight to bed.
Whatever, dude.
Oh, you're going to watch that Umbrella Academy, aren't you?
I've already watched it.
Oh, it's already been on?
Yeah, it's been on. And, it's more stuff to talk. What's interesting is the character in there, and his name is Space Boy.
Cool. Captain Marvel is becoming the MCU's most controversial movie, but it really shouldn't. It's becoming controversial the wrong way.
If she shut her pie hole, then we wouldn't have this issue right now.
Yeah, it's becoming controversial. Places online, it's impossible to even mention the film without discussing.
What's that word? You talk about me making up words?
I'm tired. I've talked too much. It's a litany of complaints. People fume over everything from radical feminism to rampant misandry. Let's go look up that word.
Isn't it like a female version of misogyny? That'd be nice.
Look who's woke.
Did I get it right?
Definition. Dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against men.
Yep. That all comes back to her refusal to have any of white men do any interviews with her on the press junket tour.
What?
Yeah, I know. She wanted.
I'm not up on any of
this.
And
that's where I'm getting this: shut your pie hole and just do your acting job. Nobody gives a crap of what you're saying. They just want to pay to see you do this Marvel thing. And
no, I kind of agree with you there, but I'm probably not as
at the end of the day, I'm going to see these movies to escape all the crap that's going on. If I really wanted to watch all this social justice stuff and media going up in flames, I could just flip on CNN or.
Okay. It says Brie Larson shouldn't have to clarify her comments about Captain Marvel press tour. She's right, What site am I looking at?
Is that the comicbook.com?
What site am I looking at?
The Mary Sue. Yeah. That was my second one. Because I had seen a video with they were talking about that. I think that was Macarena 45 or something like that.
Okay.
It's the redhead that's on YouTube that I watch.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I probably butchered her name, and so.
All right.
But yeah, Mary Sue brought that up.
Again, look for tonight's guest book on Amazon. That's Lee Austin, MorningStarsTale, TALE. Just in case we missed it.
Wasn't he a great guest?
Yes, and he reached out to us?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
He reached out to us and said, "No, okay, we need a guest. Oh, book him." And the topic was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know what the heck you were talking about until I downloaded the PDF. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, fascinating subject matter. You know, just like Brie Larson out there, it gets under a lot of people's skin. The flat Earth theory that you know,
people don't like new ideas.
They don't like their paradigm shifted into a direction.
They don't like it's that he put that Mark Twain quote in front of his one. It's like it's easier to get people to believe a lie than to change their minds on something they already believe in. So that's true, and I'm capable. Hey, you and I are both guilty of that too, right?
On maybe some things, but not to the degree that, like, say. And I'm going to say this, and I'm not saying it to make millennials upset, but millennials tend to be more susceptible to the deception of certain things. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, we already got.
Don't question as much as they should. Maybe,
right.
You're saying
they've been brainwashed by academia to think a certain way, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
So, man, we've gotten a lot of politics into this show tonight.
Well, we don't normally do that, but
no.
I think it's because we're tired and we're rusty. We took a week off from the show, and we couldn't remember how to broadcast. You know? I know. I forgot to log out over here.
So what is it that you might be interested in talking about next week?
Like I said, I'd love to talk about the concept of conspiracy theories, what YouTube's doing, and the growing, oncoming censorship of such content. But I don't know how to stretch that out to 3 hours. Mm-hmm. That's my problem.
I know that it's maybe a little early for another history topic, but in your back of your mind, I know that you've wanted to do
Vietnam War, Korean, because it fits in these slots about communism, right?
Plus, that would tie into the Richard Nixon thing we did, you know. So
yeah, we're not doing these in any particular order. I guess we should have, but it doesn't. It just comes down to
you know the beautiful thing about on-demand programming.
They can go back and slot it together.
Exactly, and you know so. If you know anybody that wants to be a guest here on the SBU, tell them to reach out to contact at spaceboyuniverse.com. Send us an email, and we'll do
suggest a topic.
Or suggest a topic. I know there's a few topics out there I'm still looking into that we'll bring to the SBU, and all in good fashion. Let's see here. I guess, Solana, we can go ahead and wrap this up. Let me go ahead and play our outro music.
You can't remember how.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been the SBU programming for tonight, and we hope you've enjoyed this program, because we've enjoyed giving it to you. Good night, everybody.
Spaceboy Universe is hosted by Spaceboy and Sir Lana. Executive producer is Sir Lana. Associate producer is Lee Ann Cordes. Music production is Spaceboy of SpaceboyMusic.com. Special thanks goes out to Lee Ann K, K28, Dino, Solars Blue Raven, Patrick Sporer, Bob and Beverly N. This has been a Spaceboy Universe production. Support the universe by exploring Spaceboy Universe with Spaceboy and Sir Lana. Sweet dreams, Space Cadets.
Hi, I'm Spaceboy.
And I'm Sir Lana.
And you're listening to Spaceboy Universe
on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.